My name is Walter Maleana from the SCM department. I've been requested by the colleagues to preside over this session. Please welcome. It's going to be a jam-packed kind of a program. In our midst, we have our Chief Operating Officer, Prof. Dimana. We also have Prof. Chantel Baker, Prof. Chantel Baker, and we also have our Director for Supply Chain, Ms. Notgolo Chucha. We also have speakers from different stakeholders, including the National Treasury, EXA, CIDB, SARS, APSA, and so forth. So we believe that this is going to be a very entertaining as well as informative kind of a session. Without wasting any time, I'm going to invite Prof. Dimana to come and welcome everyone. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm just here to welcome you on behalf of the Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Eminos Manyawi. Unfortunately, he's not with us. He has gone to US yesterday, and he will be back in about 2 weeks' time. So on his behalf, he has requested me to come and do the welcome. Without further much ado, to members of the senior management, I see two colleagues here, the two directors. Our speaker from National Treasury, CIDB, SARS, ECSA, and APSA, distinguished guests, program director, university officials from different departments and schools present today, member of the organized labor, members from the Student Representative Council present, our students, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor for me to welcome you to this auspicious gathering. Sefako Makato Health Sciences University is indeed humbled by your presence. This seminar is important in twofold. Firstly, because this event is scheduled exactly a day after the country hosted yet another critical and peaceful national and provincial elections. I hope you have all gone to cast your vote. And secondly, because it happens at the time when the construction and engineering sector is under scrutiny. As we all know, the construction industry is in the spotlight. This is necessitated by unscrupulous contractors, poor workmanship, the so-called construction mafia, and irregular procurement of works and service within the construction and engineering space. SMU felt that it is extremely vital that we host a supplier day termed Construction and Engineering Supply Day. This seminar is organized with an objective to bring all relevant stakeholders within the construction and engineering sector under one roof to share experience and challenges, pertinent issues, and regulatory processes that all role players have to play. SMU's vision for the sector encapsulates and seek to forge strategic partnership with different role players within the sector to assist us implement our infrastructure and delivery management activities, which should be free of corruption, nepotism, favoritism, and devoid of all forms of malfeasance. Dating back from the year 2021, the university has been turned into a construction site. The university will continue in this trajectory in the medium to long term to seek to revitalize our ailing infrastructure and develop new infrastructure to ensure quality teaching and learning to support the ideas we set for ourselves in terms of the academic project. This is reflected indeed in our strategic plan 2024 to 2028. We just did the revision of that not long ago as we had the 2021 to 2025. We do so as we seek to create a vibrant student accommodation facilities with extramural facilities included, refreshing and refurbishing of our lecture room, study centers, and other enabling amenities. Furthermore, we also intend to create a conducive working environment for our special resources, which is really the workforce of the university. This is the greatest assets that one can have in any organization, in any institution, the people, in order to create indeed a state-of-the-art corporate center. As we all embark on delivering this plan, the university will be doing it in a manner that is compliant with the legislative framework and regulations as directed by the government and other relevant industry regulators, that is DHET, for instance, CIDB, National Treasury, SARS, ECSA, the South African Institute of Industrial Engineers, just to mention a few. The university is very cautious as we are maneuvering through all this regulatory framework in delivering a fit for purpose infrastructure. We do not want SMU to be a crime scene. We draw lessons from the recent unfortunate calamity that you all know. We have seen it in the social media of what happened in George Municipality in the Western Cape, where a building collapsed and there was a loss of lives. In the same week, we also witnessed the same tragedy in Durban, KwaZulu-Natal province, where a building also collapsed, resulting in the loss of lives as well. If all role players are operating within the boundaries of the law and adhering to regulation within the industry, we, I'm using this noun consciously, we can avoid SMU being a crime scene and avoid unnecessary tragedies. With that said, it is upon institutions like SMU that the responsibility to transverse the discourse lies in ensuring that the various stakeholders enabled by various legislations, and these legislations enacted within the Republic will be able to address previous injustice, and the disenfranchised are completely empowered. This may only be done, of course, with the support of public institutions mandated with these responsibilities, such as the CIDB. Through a joint analysis by both built environment. Unfortunately, the director for built environment could not be with us, but we have in our place Mr. Kujo Hudson, who will also be one of the speakers. And we have a director of supply chain, Ms. Notolo Chucha here. Both these two departments, in terms of the joint analysis, it was established that from a tender or bid response point of view, the university received comparatively a small number of bids, whereas with majority of tenderers not passing the mandatory compliance evaluation. Hence, a decision to dedicate this year supply day to construction and engineering sector. Thus, we saw it fit that for us to remain impactful, we should invite you as captains of the industry and the accomplished and esteemed speakers present today to share your perspective and impart valuable knowledge on how we can work together towards improving how we do business. Although universities are not one of the organs of state listed in the Public Finance Management Act, that is PFMA schedule, we still use PFMA as best practice. We also subscribe to principles of the Preferential Procurement Policy Framework Act, Broad-Based Black Economic Empowerment Act, and the CIDB Act. Thus, we are igniting a conversation around how best these pieces of legislation can be used to procure competent contractors. We also seek to ensure closer management and also in terms of engagement with industry, business, and communities to form a concomitant model of partnerships. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, I challenge all of us to work together to achieve more and be part of the solutions. I trust that the discussions will be fruitful and we will all learn from one another. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Prof. Dimana. Can we give him another round of applause? Ladies and gentlemen, I think from the speech that the Chief Operating Officer presented, I have some takeaways. And one of the takeaways is that SMU has been turned into a construction site. And that is true. If you have been here before, let's say last year, and come here today and look at the developments that happened, starting from our ground, the beautification of our ground has really gone a long way. We also planning to also upgrade or refurbish our gate, because when we look at it, it's one of the faces that you first interact with when you come to the university. If you look at the mountain in the north side of the university, you see very beautiful building. And that is what we call 2,000 beds student accommodation. And it's one of the state of the art. We must all acknowledge. If you look at our roads, ring roads have also been refurbished. We have done this fog spray, and we continue to do that. And we're doing that in support of the academic project. And we want to say to you, Prof, thanks for the sterling leadership collectively as the executives of the university. We really want to appreciate your leadership. Without further ado, I want to call the Director SCM, Ms. Notkolo Chucha, to come and give a presentation about opportunities, challenges that we're facing as an organization. One of it being that when we advertise tenders, majority of them, as said by Prof. Dimana, don't pass functionality or don't pass mandatory requirements. And that has been a challenge since ever, and it continues unabated. And we really want you to give us some solutions that you may think about in making sure that we work together as partnership, because this arm's length kind of relationship is not working. And therefore, we want to bring you closer to the activities of the university. But we also want to encourage you and others that are not here, that we really want you to look at our website almost every day, because we are really in a moving very fast speed of a mirage to make sure that our infrastructure gets to be refreshed. So without further ado, I want to call Ms. Notkolo Chucha to come make presentation with regard to opportunities that are available within the university. Over to you then. Can we give a round of applause as she's coming?
Thank you, Mr. Maleyane. Technology. Thank you, Mr. Maleyane, and good morning, everyone. And thank you all for joining us this morning. As Mr. Maleyane has alluded, SMU is a construction site and also a learning organization. Hence the invitation this morning. We want to learn from you colleagues as well. And in this very short presentation of mine, I'll be looking into the procurement processes at SMU and also looking into the opportunities that awaits. Apologies, colleagues. I mentioned the issue of technology. The COO in his speech, colleagues indicated that the university is autonomous in that we are not obliged to comply with the regulations of supply chain management as issued in terms of Public Finance Management Act. However, we do use the PFMA as best practice. In that, colleagues, supply chain is not just a buying of goods and services at SMU. It is a strategic function that plays a critical role in ensuring the university's success. In that autonomy, colleagues, it means that our thresholds also differs from those of state-owned and state entities. As you can see that our RFQ or request for quotation threshold ends at 4 million. However, from 1 million to 4 million, even though we follow the 3 codes process, we also evaluate service providers for functionality. That process is similar to that of a competitive bidding process. We first evaluate on administrative requirements, which has proven to be the biggest challenge. We noted that even though service providers are competent in functionality, there is a gap with the administrative requirements or the administrative processes that we require as the university. And through a well-defined procurement process, the university secures goods and services to fulfill the university's mission while we are being mindful of responsible spending. And our commitment to transparency and fairness, colleagues, ensures a level playing field for all prospective service providers. The threshold are as displayed there. As I have mentioned, that our RFQs end at 4 million. The challenge with our RFQs, other than that of administrative requirements, is that we get to advertise them on the university website. And we have noted that there is no or less participation in our RFQ processes. And sometimes we send to service providers that are registered on our university database, and the participation has been very limited. We, however, encourage everyone who's available here to continue visiting our university website for these opportunities. For acquisition of goods and services from 4 million, we use a competitive bidding process. And the bidding process is a structured journey with clear steps, ladies and gentlemen. It all begins with identifying a specific need, all the way to our specification process, and to the advertisements of the tender. And to ensure fairness and competitive environment, we issue RFP that details our requirements and invite qualified service providers to submit proposal. This process is normally advertised through our print media. We normally use the Sunday Times, the Pretoria News, and recently we have been using the CIDB as well. We also encourage you to continue checking those mediums to ensure you participate in our processes. My colleague also mentioned, and I have also mentioned, that we struggle with the administrative process of our bidding processes. Colleagues, we have then prepared a list of the requirements that we normally put in our tender processes. It is the standard requirements that we always put out there. And we have noted that even though we communicate through our tender documents and sometimes compulsory site briefings, there's still a gap. So we wanted to communicate to you the requirements that we require in terms of administration of our tenders. And colleagues, as you can see, we need an original bid document and proposal and a copy to be provided and bound. We also require that you provide us with an electronic copy. That electronic copy, ladies and gentlemen, is also very important as it assists us during our evaluation process. There is a number of documents that we also require that they be completed and signed. Those includes the invitation to bid, the standard bid document that you normally purchase from the university, the declaration of interest, bidders' past supply chain management practice, and bidders' independent certificate of independence. Those needs to be completed and signed. And you need to also make sure that your tax issues are in order. I believe we have a colleague from SARS who's going to elaborate more on that. We need to also have your CIDB information reflected for all our built environment RFQs and tenders. We also require sometimes professional body registration. And if an RFQ or a tender specifies that you need to provide that, please make sure it is provided. We also require insurance, like any other entity. We also require that you provide us with a letter of good standing from the Department of Labor. A resolution or authorities to sign has to be provided for all RFQs, especially those from 1 million to 4 million, and the competitive tender process, as they are evaluated in the same way. You also need to give us assurance that you will be able to deliver the project in terms of your financial capability. And you need to provide us with your business address. Colleagues, as I have mentioned, it is important that your bids or proposal addresses the needs. It is equally important that you comply with all the bid requirements. We have noted that there's a gap in the administrative process. We always provide a contact person in our RFQs and bid process. Make use of those contact details if there's any area where you are not clear. And in terms of submissions, colleagues, you need to ensure that you submit all your tenders on time and in advance, if possible, because we have had to disqualify a number of tenders which were not submitted on time. We also provide clear instructions and guidelines on how to submit the proposal. We encourage you, ladies and gentlemen, to ensure completeness, eligibility, and to follow the instructions that are provided to the T. And as mentioned, the issue of the deadlines or the submission date is very important. We noted the poor participation in our RFQs for the built environment area. And as the CFO has alluded, we are here to share the opportunities that are available at SMU that you can participate on. And these opportunities range from RFQ to the competitive bidding process. And the RFQs are normally advertised on the university website. I need to stress that. So it is important that you keep visiting our university website. And our competitive tender process, we have recently started using the CIDB portal. We are also ensuring that they are advertised on the print media. And in that, colleagues, the university will be looking into appointing a service provider that is going to assist us with the roads upgrade. We have gone to the market for more than 2 times for this bid. And if it's not administrative requirements, it's non-participation. We really appeal to you that we share the experiences that you may have had with the bids that we've issued out to the public. We are still going to be appealing to the public to submit proposals for the road upgrades. And the university will also be appointing service providers for plumbing maintenance and repair services. That is a 36 months contract. Ladies and gentlemen, I only listed a few of the projects that we will be appointing for in 2024, going into 2025. There is a number of other projects that are not listed here, but I need to assure you that we really are appealing for your participation in the pressure pump installation as well that we will be embarking on at one of our residences. We will also be appointing mechanical and fire professional services. The pharmacy labs needs HVAC maintenance service provider. We have also embarked on a project to have our cadaver labs upgraded. We are currently appointing for professionals, but that project is a big project. It is still ongoing. There will also be parking space upgrades for the pharmacy building, the building that we are in. We appeal for your participation as well. Electrical medium voltage switch gear and replacement services. We need a service provider for a 36 months contract. We will also be replacing our mini subs. And here we are still appointing consultants. We will be designing, or we need a service provider that will assist us with designing and implementing the car wash services into the university. Mr. Maleyane mentioned the gate uplift project that we'll be embarking on. It is a very important project for the university, as he indicated that it is the first thing that sells the university to the public. We require a service provider for the HVAC maintenance, replacement, and new installations. And again, this will be a 36 months contract. We have started a project with our MECRU clinic. Some of you may have interacted with the clinic, but we are still looking for other services to ensure that that clinic is up to the required standard. We will be refurbishing our existing parking and extending parking bays throughout the university. We are also converting our pharmacy lab. We've started with phase 1, which is now complete. We will be appointing for phase 2 of that project, which includes a number of projects. And colleagues, we appeal for your participation. That project is very close to the COO's heart. I see he's even smiling. Electrical and maintenance infrastructure, we are looking for a service providers there. We will also be refurbishing our residences. We may have mentioned one residence, but colleagues, there is, as Mr. Maleyane has said, we have a number of residences and we are still a construction site. We will be constructing speed humps. We will be constructing a covered walkway that goes through the residences. Our residences are very far from our lecture halls, so we need to ensure that there's covered walkways. Generator projects for our biggest building in the university. We will also be appointing panel for professional service providers. This a project is currently at specification phase, and we will be going out to the market as soon as possible. There are other projects, colleagues, and as I have mentioned that I listed only a few. We have our colleagues from Built Environment that would actually even give more details on the opportunities that are available on the built environment space. And as SMU, we welcome a diverse pool of qualified service providers in our procurement processes. We are therefore encouraging everyone to ensure that they register on our supplier database. I mentioned earlier that we sometimes go to service providers that are on our database when we are issuing RFQs. Therefore, it is advisable that we all register. Those that are not registered are registered in our supplier database. And colleagues, to learn more about other opportunities that may be available, especially those that are up to 4 million, that don't really get to be advertised on print media, we do encourage that you visit our university website. And our database registration forms are also available on our university website. And in submitting that, make sure that you comply with the database registration checklist that is provided. We are, however, available to assist service providers in ensuring that they are fully registered and they are provided with their supplier numbers. And we do encourage that if you have any other procurement-related inquiries or issues after the session, you can contact either myself, Mr. Maleane. We have the whole supply chain management team available here to assist, and we will be available to answer all your questions. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks, Director. Can we give Ms. Chucha another round of applause? Thank you so much for the comprehensive presentation that you've made. I think that drew some interest from the participants that are here. I think one of the takeaway is that SCM remain a construction site, and that would be that forever. Hence, you see in the list of projects that have been earmarked, most of them are construction related. And therefore, we can't cry foul of lack of opportunities within the country, because the only health sciences university in SADC provide those opportunities. And I think for that, the collective leadership of the university need to be given a round of applause. Can we do that? I need to mention that this seminar is being recorded, and in terms of the POPI Act, I need to inform you that even the speakers that are going to present, that your presentations will be recorded and even be put in our social media that include the SMU LinkedIn, SMU TikTok, SMU website, as well as the YouTube. So please, if you are uncomfortable and you are an institution that's supposed to be presenting, please let us know. And even participants that are going to ask questions for clarity and make inputs to our discussion, please take note that your inputs will be recorded. With that being said, we are moving on to the next speaker. Amongst ourselves, we have got the Acting Director for Built Environment, Mr. Kojo Hudson, that is going to give us perspective from his department on how they are planning to handle the built environment and opportunities that are there, including the pain points that they are facing as and when we evaluate our tenders. Mr. Hudson, please come to the fore to make that presentation. Can we give him a round of applause?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kojo Hudson. And I think all in all, what I'll be doing is I'll just be talking to some of our considerations from a built environment perspective. I'll highlight what we want to achieve as a built environment department, what are our challenges at this point in time, and also outline further opportunities maybe some of my colleagues have not touched on at this point in time that might be crucial for all to know. All right, I think the reality of it is that we live in a world where everyone wants an environment that is smart. And when I say smart, I mean smart from a technology perspective. We live in a technology engaged society. We also want an environment that is safe. And lastly, we are looking for a place that is comfortable, yet sustainable, you know. And I think that's the reality of it. That's become the cornerstones of your choice as a student coming into a university. Those are the points you look for. There's no student that will come to a university that doesn't have ICT infrastructure. You know, it's a part of the integration and the learning experience, you know. So as the university has now reached 10 years, and we've reached this landmark this year, the built environment has looked forward at the rollout of infrastructure for the next 5 years. We have taken a look at this year's rollout, 2024, 2025, and numerous items have been listed there. I think what this university has that is different from other universities is that we are a specialist university, in that we provide a specialist service which is predominantly within the health services sector, right? So the infrastructure that we have in the university as well is aligned to that and is not typical at that. So let me just speak to some of our facilities that we have so you understand what it is that you'll have to work towards. I mean, the institution in itself has labs, predominantly healthcare facilities. I mean, we have cadaver spaces, we have anatomy labs, we have lecture halls, we have offices, we have residences that exist. And over and above that, all of these infrastructures of these facilities need to be supported by bulk infrastructure to the institution. I think at this point in time, the university has undergone an infrastructure renewal and upgrade program. This basically is that 5-year plan that we have. The objective around our infrastructure upgrades is to align and enable academic excellence, right? Because that is our core and primary mandate as an institution. All right. So let me speak to some of the challenges that we have at this point in time. I will start from the university might be 10 years old, but the infrastructure is definitely not 10 years old. And it's quite evident when you come in, right? So with that said, we have a lot of aging infrastructure within the university. And the infrastructure that we have is very specialist, right? So some of the issues that we have is that we have suppliers that do not necessarily avail themselves that can provide us with these specialist services. I'll give you an example. We have a dental school that exists. In there, you need to provide LP gas, reticulation, vacuum, air, compressed air. There's a lot of specialist services that exist. And over and above the installation of all these specialist services, there's also maintenance that's associated with that, right? So we need both installation contractors, we need professional services to come and provide us with conditional assessments for works to be done. When they are done, we design and ensure that best practice is met. We have situations where there are non-compliance within the university, and we need to get forward and get to this current dispensations requirements from a certification perspective. So what you have a lot is that we have aging infrastructure that has reached the end of its lifespan, and we need to ensure that we are compliant, because compliance of the infrastructure enables compliance of the academic program. The two are interlinked at all points in time. So another issue or challenge that we have is that the university is growing. We have new academic programs that are coming up. I mean, we have ICT that has come up within the institution, right? And all of these also require new labs to be built right across the campus, you know. to enable those academic processes to happen. Over and above that, if there are new students or new programs that are being introduced, then definitely there needs to be accommodation for these students, right? And then it goes back again to the bulk infrastructure that we were talking about. We need to upgrade our bulk infrastructure within the university. We need to change town planning processes. So there is work in terms of value chain for all service providers within the built environment. So those are some of the issues that we have. So there's a lot of pressure on our bulk infrastructure services at this point in time. And then let me speak to compliance. Compliance is a big issue. If we don't have built environment compliance, we jeopardize the academic program. So we need people that are competent in specialist services. And I think that is what we're aiming to achieve from this. We're aiming to draw you in, and we'd like to work with you to make sure that we're able to achieve our objectives. All right. I think, colleagues, we've also spoken about the establishment of framework panels, right? I think once we've established the framework panels, we will then be able to ensure that we have the right person for the right job, right? And that will be easy for us, and it will also ensure that our turnaround times are easy, and we are able to then render the services that are required adequately and sufficiently. All right. There are also other opportunities that are also presenting, opportunities that are also presenting themselves, in that we are specifically trying to look at providing services that allow the university to generate income, right? So you had income generating streams that will come. The university in itself occupies land and would like to commercialize its lands to be able to sustain the university and sustain its projects. And that is the sustainability I was talking about, not only environmental sustainability, but financial sustainability. You know, if we have a growing university, we need to then ensure that we are able to commercialize our lands, and our lands do not just stay vacant, and utilize those lands for developments. Some revenues or avenues that we can utilize for those developments is that we can look at triple Ps. Those have become a very viable route for development within the country, and it allows for engagement between us, the holders, as well as bringing in private parties to move forward this particular agenda and ensure that this is a working relationship moving forward. So those are some of the items that I thought I would just speak to at this point in time. The projects in themselves, I think our SEM director has run through those. Those are straightforward, and necessary processes will happen. But I think from a built environment perspective, we really require specialist services, especially for our labs and all our specialist spaces that we have, considering that we are also a health services university. I think in all, that would be about it from our end, from the built environment. I think our challenges are straightforward in that we need a good basis and competent service providers that can come and enable us to work forward, to move forward collectively. I think the team in the built environment are adequately skilled, and we just need the right partners to move the ship forward and take it to another 10 years. Hopefully in the next 10 years, when we come again, when we sit, we'll be talking about the achievements that came from the initiatives that came out of this session. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Hudson. Can we give him another round of applause as he's sitting down? I think the presentation was very empowering, and the emphasis that SEM will remain a construction site. That's the emphasis. And the pain points that he has mentioned, it's compliance. And he's saying that he's only willing, because we are also a specialized health sciences university, is only willing to work with specialized engineers and contractors. And you must gear yourself up for that challenge, because he means his business. Once he says something, he's gonna adhere to it and move with it. Amongst ourselves, there is one institution that we love to hate so much, both from employees' point of view and business point of view. And I want you to guess what is that institution that you hate so much? SARS. And let me tell you about SARS, but she's going to tell you more. SARS is one of the most efficient public entity. If there's anyone who argue that point, look at your tax returns. Now for the employees, they don't even care whether you file your tax returns or not. They'll do it on your behalf. That's how efficient they are. And if you have got a problem, then you can dispute, but they would have done it on your behalf. That's how competent and efficient they are. If you go to their offices, all the offices, regardless of whether it's in the rural outskirts of the country, whether it's in the suburban, the services are the same. Very efficient. You get your number. It's only there. If you go to other departments that I don't want to mention, it will be a different story. But with SARS, thank you so much, May. We really want you to take this message to your principals and say, we really want to appreciate the efficiency and effectiveness of how you do business. I hope that that lesson can go across the board in terms of the public entities and organs of state. We're also doing the same here in SMU. We can share notes because obviously we are in a different space, but if you go to our supply chain management, we have got the best competent director ever. If you go to our built environment, it's the same. If you go to our school of pharmacy, dental, health sciences, and everywhere else, we are the most effective institution. Prof. Barker will share it when she do the vote of thanks in terms of what we do in terms of our business. Ma'am, we want to welcome Ms. Mpo Mutsame, that is going to represent SARS. She's going to educate us about SARS compliance processes. Can we give her a round of applause? So while she's still coming, I want to inform you that we have taken a decision that because we have said one of the pain points is that there's poor administrative compliance by yourselves, and there's also non-submission or poor submission of the tenders and the RFQ. The supply team that is sitting there, what they are going to do, they are going to adjudicate, because that's our role. They are going to adjudicate the most important input that we get from yourself, and the most important reason why we are not getting submission for the tenders. And with that, it comes with a present that we're going to give to the two. One for the most important input in terms of the compliance, and the second one in terms of the submission. Thank you. Over to you, ma'am. I don't mind holding the mic for you. I mean, SARS is one of those important things.
Good morning, everyone. I'll try that again. Good morning, everyone. How are you guys? I'm good. I'm the friendlier side of SARS, so don't be scared. Okay, all right. My name is Mpho Matsime. I am from SARS. Our division is called the Tax-Based Broadening and Education. So our mandate is to ensure that we educate you, our taxpayers, because as much as you want to be compliant or you are compliant, most of you do not know what you are doing. So hence I'm the friendlier side. Okay, whatever I say, please don't quote me. Some of the things you might, but not everything. Okay, right. For the purpose of this presentation, it is merely to provide information in an easily understandable format and is intended to make the provision of the legislation more accessible. The information therefore has no binding legal effect, and the relevant legislation must be consulted in the event of any doubt as to the meaning. Okay, so as SARS, we have our vision, which we call 2024 or 2025 vision, where we say we want to build a smart modern SARS with unquestionable integrity that is trusted and admired by many, that is including the government and our peers. So the university can come and take pointers from us. We will tell them how to run this. Okay, so for it or for our vision to be possible is if we meet our objections, which would include making it simple for you to comply with SARS. And we've also modernized our systems. So whatever that the third party would give us, we then pre-populate in our systems. We run the systems and we know that the information is correct. As individuals, for those that are employed, you'd see when you go to SARS, there's no need for you to bring all your documentations because we already have them, okay? Hence the reconciliation purpose. And also with the business, that's where we are going with the business. So slowly but surely we will get there, okay? So that we know that it is, all the information is accurate. And for those that are not compliant, we then make it hard for you not to comply anymore because then there's penalties that will be imposed to you. And the penalties start from 250 rands per return, and they can go up to 16,000 per return per year. So if you know that you have outstanding returns since 2020, you can calculate how much you might be possibly owing SARS. Okay. So I know my time is very limited, but I'll try and cover as much as I can. So we'll just try and look at the small business obligation, the small business incentives, what is turnover tax, the compliance, and all our digital platforms that we have. So as a small business or as a business, what is expected from you is that you need to ensure that your business is registered, okay? And by it registering, meaning you need to start with CIPC where it is registered. There's no need for you to come to SARS and re-register to have a tax number. The tax number will be automatically populated for you, okay? If the tax number is not in your document, it means that the certain information that is not accurate, you just need to contact SARS, we verify that information, and then you would get your tax number. And what we'll then expect from you from there is that you need to now submit your returns because you are regarded as a provisional taxpayer. Then your returns need to be submitted in February and the end of August. And at the end of your financial year, that's when you would submit what we call an ITR 14. So that is your annual return that you would need to submit. Okay. For those that they have registered, but the business is not operating, you still need to submit your returns. Do not sit and say the business is not operating or I did not get this project, so there's nothing to submit. You still need to submit. Submit your nil returns, okay, with SARS, then you avoid being penalized. And for those that maybe the business ran at a loss, you still need to submit the losses that you've made. And at the end, when you are submitting your returns, there is a question that will ask you, do you want your projections to be kept or not? The reason why we ask you that question, if it is kept, if you say yes, you want it to be kept, then for the next 5 years, let's say your business runs at a loss for the next 5 years, we will cap all the losses, and on the year that you make a profit, we still need to consider all the losses that you've made. Okay, but if you do not tick yes to that question, come the second year and you've made a profit and we need to tax, then we will tax you. So you do have that option. So please, when you are submitting your returns, please do read those questions, because we only tick yes, but we don't even understand what the questions are all about. Okay. And in the financial year, again, it depends on when your financial year is, but the SARS financial year starts in March and it ends in February. Okay. Then I've mentioned that you need to register your business. And over and above registering your business, you also need to register your business for pay-as-you-earn, because you are regarded as an employee in your business. Okay. So you also need to register yourself for pay-as-you-earn, and you need to pay yourself a salary if there is a salary that you can pay. But please make sure that when you are paying your salary and your salary is above 95,750, then you'd also be eligible for tax, meaning as an individual, you'd also be charged tax. And you paying yourself that salary, the salary that you paid, will then work as a deduction in your business, one of the allowable deductions, because then it will be salaries or wages, depending how you put it. So please do make sure that you do put that information. And once you are registered for pay-as-you-earn, then you would then be expected to submit your returns, which we call them the EMP 201, where you need to submit them on the 7th of every month. And at the end of your financial year, before we get to the financial year, in August, where 6 months after, we are saying you need to submit your recon by annual reconciliation, where that is where we will populate the IRP5s, if there are any IRP5s that need to be populated. And at the end of your financial year, then again, you would need to submit your annual reconciliation. And the due date, for those that are registered for pay-as-you-earn in your companies, please note that the due date is tomorrow. So you need to make sure that you have submitted your reconciliation, which is the EMP 501. I hope the university also has submitted for you guys, for the employees. Remember, with the EMP 501, when you submit that, that is the same information that we will use to populate your information to do the auto assessment for you, the individuals. So hence you mentioned that there wouldn't be a need for you to come to SARS. We already submit the returns for you. So that is possible only if the university has submitted their record. So the due date is tomorrow. For that, please remind them. Okay, if not, penalties. Okay. And if you have a business or you had registered a business, but you are no longer in use of that business, please make sure that you do deregister your business. But before you can deregister it, we need to make sure that all the returns are submitted. You do not owe SARS anything. Then only then can it be deregistered. If not, penalties will still kick in. Your business is not operating, you're just sitting there, you're not submitting your returns. We will still hit you with penalties. And you will need to pay it somewhere, somehow. Because if you do not, then we can appoint the third parties. If you are in business, the bank can work as the third party. So we can always appoint the bank to say, we need this money from this particular business. So yes, the university has given you a project, and when they are making a payment, instead of getting that million, you're only getting 200,000 because the whole 800,000 came to SARS. So please make sure that you do submit. I'll keep emphasizing on that. Please make sure that you do submit your returns. Okay. And for those that, as you are in business, you are asked to register for VAT. When it comes to VAT, what we are saying as SARS is that it is only compulsory for you to register for VAT if the turnover of your business is 1 million. Okay. If only the turnover of your business is 1 million. If it is not 1 million, we do have voluntary registration where we're saying at least you should have made 50,000. We're not saying 50,000 must be from one invoice. 3 invoices can make up the 50,000, but they need to be reflected in your bank statement. You must have invoices. So you should have invoiced, and you do have invoices that will show that this is what you've made as your turnover. Okay, it is 50,000. Or compulsory, it is 1 million. And remember, once you are registered for VAT or you are registering for VAT, it simply means that your business is operating. Okay, it is not a once-off, but it is an ongoing business. And if you are bidding for a tender and they tell you that you've actually won, but we need you to have a VAT number, then they need to give you a document that will say they want you to have a VAT number, to be registered for a VAT number if the business is not yet operational. Okay. And you must have a place where you are operating at. We are not saying go rent out a space somewhere and incur more expenses. In your own home, if there is a room that you can turn into being an office, you can use that as your office space, because you can then claim expenses against that office. So we will need the full square meters of the house, of the full property, and that particular room that you are using. So you can claim electricity against it. If there's a person who's cleaning the property, the amount that you're paying them for the year, we can apportion it to the particular room. If you have a telephone line, we can also apportion it to that. So any of the expenses that might be related to your business, you can apportion it to that particular room. So you can claim expenses against the office space that you have inside your property. Okay. And like I said, the business must be operating and you must have invoices, because we do send out people to come and do inspections and audit in the property that you said you are running the business. And we need to see that the business is truly operational. Okay, and we can always ask for the invoices. So please make sure that when you are applying for VAT, you have a business that is operating, or you are appointed for a particular project, and you are able to give us the necessary documents that we need. And remember, when you are registering for VAT, the VAT that you are charging does not stay with you. You are a VAT vendor for SARS, so you are only charging VAT to pay it over to SARS. So you are charging VAT because you were charged VAT, hence you are charging VAT. But that money that you've charged for VAT, you then pay it over to SARS. Then when we make the comparison between the two of the VAT that was charged to you and the VAT that you are charging, if what was charged to you is more than what you have made with your VAT, then SARS will then refund you that VAT. Okay, that is the only time you would get anything from SARS when it comes to VAT. Okay, and again, if you see that you no longer need this VAT registration, please make sure that you deregister. And when it comes to VAT, the due date for submission, it is the 25th. You need to make sure that you have submitted that return and you have made payments if there are payments that you need to make. But if you are registered on e-filing, then we give you up until the last day of the month. And if it does fall within a weekend, please make sure that you submit before that particular day. If not, again, penalties would be imposed. Okay, how are we doing with time? Okay, all right. Then we also, some of the incentives that we have as SARS, we have what we call a small business incentive. So if you know that your business is not making much, this is just some of the taxable income that you might be having. So if you know that within your business you've made 95,750, please note that there wouldn't be any taxes that we are charging you. Okay, but you need to activate this incentive. So it does not happen automatically. You need to activate it on when you are submitting your return. If not, then the 28% will then be imposed to you when it comes to the taxes. So this is just the different taxable incomes that you can refer to. Okay, I will give you the presentation so you can share it with the attendees. Okay, and for small business incentives, there might be certain things that would you would check if do you qualify to register for it or not, where we're saying please note that it is not another type of business entity, it is just an incentive, and not more than 20% of your income should come from investment income, and not more than 20% of the income that you are rendering is from personal services. When we are talking about investment income, we are referring to the dividends, rental from immovable property, the interest income, and the royalties. Then when we are referring to the personal services, these are the personal services. So if your business falls within any of these, then you should note that then it disqualifies you to register for the small business incentive. So you cannot be activated for small business incentive. Okay. And again, you must not have any connected person. So you are the taxpayer, okay, and you have a business. So you cannot have a business with your child or your grandchild or your sister or your nephew, your brother, parents. You can have a business with me. We're not related. We can qualify for the small business incentive. But if any of these people are connected to you, then it automatically disqualifies you to have the small business incentive. Okay, I know it's not fair, but hey, what can we say? Okay, and then as you are in business and you have bought machineries, please note that you can claim also for depreciation on your machineries. On the first year, you would then claim 50%. On the second year, you can claim 30%. On the third year, you can claim 20% of it. So you can do that. I'm sure if you have accountants, they know how to go about claiming for the depreciation in any of your machineries. And then we then have something that we call turnover tax. Again, turnover tax is not another registration. It is an incentive where we're saying at least your business, if you are making anything less than $1 million, you can opt to register for turnover tax. Okay, and for turnover tax, again, there is a quick test that you can do on the SARS website. You can navigate through the SARS system, and then you can click on the small business. Then you can click on the turnover tax, and then you click on how to register, and you do the quick test. If you're gonna answer no to any of the questions on the quick test, then you must know that that automatically disqualifies you to register for turnover tax. Why turnover tax? I'll just show you the rates for turnover tax. These are the rates for turnover tax. So if your business is making anything less than 335,000, there isn't any taxes that would be imposed to you. Okay, and you can look at the other rates that are there. As you can see, when it comes to turnover tax, it is very minimal. So you can opt to register for turnover tax. But remember, when it comes to turnover tax, you are taxed on your turnover before you even minus your expenses. So that is the difference. If you're on a normal stream, you would declare what your income is or what your turnover is. Then you would minus all your expenses, and from what is left, then you will then pay your taxes. But on the turnover tax, you are taxed before you even minus your expenses. But as you can see, the rates are very low. So it's something that you might want to consider. Okay, and there's also an overall tax comparison that one can do to say if you're a sole proprietor. Remember, a sole proprietor, I as Mpho working for SARS, I happen to have property that I'm renting out, then I'll be regarded as a sole proprietor. So when I'm submitting my returns, I would also need to declare the income that I've made on my rental, okay? And depending on how much that income is, we'll look into the tax tables and it will tell me exactly how much needs to be deducted from me. And for the companies, the percentage would be at 27%. And for the small business incentive or corporation, it will depend on the amount or the taxable income that you have and on the rate that is there. And again, on the turnover tax, the same thing would imply. Where, like I said, with the turnover tax, you'd see that the rates are very, very low. So you might want to consider the turnover tax. Okay. And when it comes to tax compliance, we're saying I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Yes, as she mentioned that you will need the TCS from SARS. You can only get that if you are compliant, meaning you are registered with SARS. There aren't any outstanding returns that you owe SARS, and there isn't any amount that you owe SARS. So you can apply for it for yourself when you are making use of e-filing, or you can even go to the SARS offices. But remember, going to the SARS offices, you need to book an appointment. So we always try and push you to e-filing. But remember, when you come to SARS and you are registered on e-filing, we do have a kiosk for e-filing. There are people that can assist you. Remember, it is a self-service. So you can always ask them if you are stuck somewhere, okay? The TCS is valid for a year, but remember, in between, you need to make sure that all the outstanding returns that you have been submitted. So when it is time to submit your provisional tax returns, you must make sure that you've submitted. If you are registered for VAT, you must make sure that you've submitted your VAT returns. If you are registered for pay-as-you-earn, you must also make sure that you are registered for pay-as-you-earn. Then that number or that PIN will not be blocked. But if you do not submit your returns, then when they are checking under the National Treasury System, they would tell you that you are not compliant with SARS because you have not submitted your returns. And the services that we offer at SARS are free. We do not charge a thing. So please refrain from paying SARS official money to do your things, okay? If you are making use of a tax practitioner, please make sure that that tax practitioner is registered. They need to give you a practice number, and you can always verify the practice number on e-filing, or you can call SARS, because they always try and come up with ways for you to get a refund. And yet you also know that you're not supposed to get a refund. And at the end, you are the one who's going to pay back that money with a penalty of 200%. So please make sure that you do not do that. And the tax practitioners are registered. So if they do anything fraudulent, we can always report them, and their licenses can be taken, and they will not be able to operate. So yeah, please make sure you do that. And for late submissions, you will be penalized. Again, the penalty starts from 250 and it can go to 16,000 per return per year. And we also do give you remission. Okay, you have registered your business. We understand that there was COVID and people did not know what to do and the businesses were not operating. So if SARS has charged you penalties, you can ask SARS for remission. You apply for it, you are requesting. So we might give partially or fully, or we might decline. It depends on each case. So you apply for that. You can make use of e-filing when you're applying for it, and the process will take 21 days for you to get a response from SARS. So you can make use of that. But remember, if you did not submit your returns, let's say for 2020, you apply for remission, they give you. Come 2024, you do not submit, then they will not give you, because now you are aware that you need to submit. So the reason why we're allowing for remission is we understand that people might not know that they needed to submit because the businesses were not operating. So you can make use of that. And for those that owe SARS, please go to SARS, make arrangements for your payments, because again, like I said, if you do not, we appoint the third party and they can deduct that money from your anywhere where you would be getting any funds. So please do contact SARS and make arrangements for payment. And remember, we just do not penalize you, or we just do not instruct the third parties to deduct funds from you. It's because we have been trying to reach out to you several times, but we're not getting any response. Hence now we then issue those penalties and we appoint the third party. We issue a garnish order against you so that we can recover that money from SARS. And with that being said, thank you, because I'll take forever. I will not finish anytime soon. So yeah, but I'm still here. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, ma'am. Thank you so much for that presentation. We were all listening attentively because we know how competent you are. If you think that the please submit your tax return was a request, you must know it's not. Because SARS doesn't deal with requests. They threaten you. The please is to threaten you that if you don't submit, or if you don't dare submit, then we'll be coming for you. So that's one of the takeaway, that we really need to submit our return, whether the business is dormant or not, we still need to submit a nil return. And the second thing is that, which I did not know as well, that if you are running a business from home, you can apportion part of those expenses that relate to your business for purpose of tax compliance and tax returns. And that is, I think, for me, one of the takeaways that I had. And the second one is that if you have got a business that has been not running for some time, don't make an assumption that SARS would know about it, because it's still registered with CIPC, and then they will continue to invoke penalties if you don't submit your tax return. So the best thing to do is to deregister that business. So I think I've learned a lot from the presentation. We really, and I suppose there will be a lot of questions that come after this presentation. So one of the best institutions that this current government has established is the CIDB. And I'm saying one of the best because its purpose and intention and mandate was to empower the previously disenfranchised communities. And most of the businesses from the built environment sector, they are benefiting significantly from these processes. Amongst ourselves, we have got Mr. Ndlovu from CIDB. We invited them mainly because they are one of the key stakeholders. If Mr. Ndlovu is not the one that is designated to speak on behalf of CIDB, I'm standing for correction. But in terms of our name that has been submitted, Mr. Ndlovu will come through. I also know that I skipped in terms of the program that you have, National Treasury, because I consulted with my colleagues from the registration. They indicated that they have not received any confirmation of National Treasury. I need to mention that National Treasury is one of the most important departments. Similarly to SARS, they are so competent, and I believe that there's no way they can be here. They must be here. So with that, I'm inviting colleagues from CIDB to come make their presentation. Thank you. Over to you, ma'am. Can we do that better than how we have done it? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Just a point of clarity, it's Miss Ndlovu, not Mr. Ndlovu. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lishan Ndlovu from the CIDB. I see on the agenda they had put Mr. Maporu. Unfortunately, he doesn't work for the CIDB anymore. He was manager for compliance, iTender. I'm coming from a different unit, but still within compliance. The CIDB has two registers. We have a register of projects and we have a register of contractors. So Mr. Maporu was designated in the register of projects unit, and I'm coming from the register of contractors unit. Ms. Nokolo flighted a slide that was talking about the 2024-2025 opportunities that will be out there for our contractors. And on that slide, I think more than 80% of it will require supplies to be registered with the CIDB. The works that are on the slide will require whoever is going to respond to the tender to be CIDB registered. And that talks to the register of contractors. On that slide, Ms. Nokolo, the activities, almost all the activities fall within the classes of works of construction, the 20 classes of works of construction that we have at the CIDB. I've seen mechanical works, I've seen specialist works like plumbing, I've seen your civil engineering, I think. I've seen most of it, though, is general building. So the suppliers that will be responding to those opportunities will have to be registered within those particular class of works. So, for example, what I'm saying is, if, for example, those opportunities are divided into different classes of works, meaning they will have a couple of tenders advertised, calling for different classes of works. For example, the refurbishment of a building, that will require one to be registered in the general building class of works. Contractors who are on the civil engineering class of works will not respond to that tender. They will have to be registered in the correct class of works. I'll touch a bit on the register of projects, which is not my forte, but what we're saying on the register is any government entity that advertises a tender of above 200,000, that project must be registered with the register of projects, right? So if, for example, SMU advertises a tender for refurbishment of a building, and that tender is worth, say, 350,000, they must also comply with the CIDB. It starts with the client, which is SMU. They must comply with the CIDB and register that tender on our register of projects. And what that does is, once that tender is registered, obviously the tender will say, we're calling for contractors who are on, say, grade 2 general building, maybe with a PE status. So once that tender is advertised on our register of projects, then automatically an invitation goes to all the contractors that are on our register of contractor database with that specific class of works, 2GBPE. Then they will have an opportunity to respond to the tender. But if you are not registered under that particular class of works, then you will not get that notification. So compliance also starts with the client, and then it cascades down to the suppliers. Okay. The method that we use for, remember I said I'm from the register of projects. So my presentation will speak more to our suppliers, which you call suppliers, which we call contractors. So how we grade contractors on our system is we look at your works capability, and we also look at your financial capability. Your works capability will be the works construction related that you have done as a contractor within the past 5 years. So, for example, if you will be responding to a tender, you should be active on the CIDB database. So the 5 years that we're talking about the completion date of whatever project that you have embarked on. And we also look at your financial capability, obviously your financial statements. We look at your turnover, and we also look at your available capital. And Ausimpo also mentioned, is it Ausimpo? Yes. She also touched on using consultants. So at the CIDB as well, we also spread word that people must be wary of using consultants, because most of these consultants, they'll claim to know what the CIDB requirements are, number one. Number two, especially when it comes to compiling your financial statements, the accounting officers, what they will do is they will compile your financial statements, but they will look at what the CIDB requirements are. They will say, okay, for you to be in grade 4, CIDB is saying, show us a turnover of 2 million and show us an available capital of 1 million, for example. And they will compile your financials based on that. But at the CIDB, we're saying we also do our due diligence. That is why we're saying, when you submit your financial statements, give us proof of why you've stated or claiming a certain amount when it comes to your turnover. And we will go through all your bank statements, all your invoices, and we need to come to that figure in order for you to get to that grade that you're applying for. So the consultants will just put that figure without knowing that at the CIDB, we also do our due diligence. Okay. Okay, on this slide, we're saying, if you look at the columns on the left, we're saying the grade starts from grade 1 to grade 9. And then the next column, which is the upper tender value range, this is how can I put it? This is what we're saying as a contractor who is on a certain grade, right? Let's say you are a contractor and you are on grade 3. Obviously, for you to be on grade 3, we're saying, show us a project that you have completed, that you have paid for, show us your financial statements that qualify you to be on that grade. But if you get that grade, we're saying you are capable of doing works of up to 3 million as a grade 3 contractor, right? So we're saying a grade 3 contractor can respond to tenders of up to 3 million. I'm not sure if it makes sense, but I will be here to answer questions later. And we're saying a grade 2 contractor, even though they have submitted a project of 130,000 that they have completed in the past 5 years, we're saying that contractor can be given a project of up to 1 million. So it doesn't limit you to the project amount. It's saying by virtue of you having completed that project, then it means you are capable of doing projects of up to 1 million. If you look at it, it's actually a tool to develop contractors. To say, SMU, yes, you have advertised a tender, you're looking for contractors that are on grade 3, but that doesn't mean you can give them projects of 450,000 because they are on grade 3. Give them projects of 500,000, 600,000, so that they can move up the grades. So that is how contractors move up the grades. So if you can check on grade 9, we're saying a contractor who's on grade 9 they have reached the ceiling. There is no limit of amount of project that they can do. Okay. There's also the status that we call potentially imaging status, and this is also a tool that client departments must utilize in order for them to upskill and upgrade the smaller contractors. So I'm giving an example with SMU because we are here. So SMU advertises a tender. That tender is calling for contractors who are on grade 3, right, with GB class of works. But then they're saying we also have within our vicinity contractors that are lower graded, that are on a grade 2. And these contractors, the entities are 51% black owned, meaning they have applied for a PE status, potentially imaging status. And on their tender, there must be a clause that says, even though we are looking at contractors who are on grade 3, we are also saying those that are a level lower with a PE status can also submit their documents to be considered for this tender. And once that clause is on their tender advertisement, it means SMU will say, should we procure services of the lower graded contractors that are on grade 2, obviously, then we will be willing to give them the support that they need in order for them to execute the project properly and effectively. That's how the PE status works. And PE status, you don't pay for it. You just have to prove that your company is 51% or more black owned. You're going to give us your share certificate for us to see, and also your ID copies, and then you can get that PE status. Okay, there's a speaker that spoke about everything being done now, like technology has evolved, so everything is done online now. With CIDB as well, we have embarked on doing things online. Our applications are now done online, and because this is a compliance session, for you to be able to utilize our online portal, you must be compliant with CSD. If you are not compliant with CSD, you will not be able to utilize our online portal. One of the things that we encounter with contractors is that most of them are not tax compliant. And if you're not tax compliant, it means you're not CSD compliant. Therefore, you will not be able to use the CIDB portal. So it's a circle, it's a chain. One feeds into the other. So being compliant is very important. The MAAA number is the first thing that you see when you open the CIDB online portal. We'll ask you, are you CSD compliant? If you click no, you won't even be able to go to the next page. So all the services that are available online, the new grades from grade 1 to grade 9. What is nice about the online portal is for grade 1s, if you are compliant, you will be activated immediately. So it takes about 5 minutes to get a CIDB grading now. You'll be activated immediately. For the higher grades, it used to take 21 working days. Now it's about 10 to 15 working days. The upgrades as well, you can do them online. If you are active on a class of work and you want to add, you can do it online. 3-year renewals, because your lifespan on the CIDB database is 3 years. So after 3 years, you expire, then you can renew your grades. The 3-year renewal, I need to mention this, the 3-year renewal online, it's for contractors who have expired. Let's say, for example, you were active on a 3GB, you have expired, and now you want to upgrade to 4GB. Then you can use the online portal to load your application. You still feed it as a 3-year renewal, but obviously the grades would now change because you no longer want the grade 3GB, you want to upgrade to 5GB. You can use it online. The annual updates, remember when you're active on the CIDB database for 3 years, as a higher grade contractor from grade 2 to grade 9, we regard you as a higher grade contractor, you will be liable to do your annual updates for 2 years. So you are active, you get activated in 2024 on a 2GB. In 2025, 2026, you must do your annual renewals. Then in 2027, you will expire. That's when you do your 3-year renewal, whether on the same grade or on a higher grade. And then also, if you want to update your company details, for example, maybe you have added principal or a director, or you now have a new shareholder, you can also update your company details online. What you cannot apply for online is what we call a moratorium. That is when you have expired on 5CE or 3CE or 9GB, and you want to retain the grade that you had. You don't want to upgrade, you don't want to add, You don't want to downgrade. You want to retain the grade that you had. Then you can email your documents. You don't go on the portal. You use the CIDB email address. And the nice thing about the moratorium is because you have proven to us that you qualify to be on a 9 GB 2 years back, and now you're expiring in the 3rd year, we're saying you have proven. You don't have to give us your track record anymore or your financial statements anymore, because we have verified when you submitted before and you do qualify to be on a grade 9, then you just give us your company documents, basic company documents, your tax clearance certificate with a PIN number, your share certificates, your ID copies, and your company registration document. Then you can retain your grade 9. You don't have to give us your track record anymore. This is the requirements. These are requirements for using the online portal. And with the online portal, because it gets so inundated with contractors, especially during the day, it goes up and down. It works, then it stops working, works, then stops working. So when it does that, don't panic. Save what you have done already, but make sure that you come back to it within 5 days. Because if you don't come back and finish what you started within 5 days, then your application will get cancelled. And then with the uploading of documents, this is only for higher grade contractors. Those that are applying for grade 2 to grade 9, you'll be required to upload your track record, your financial statements, your bank statements, and anything else that is required for you to upload. And that is our portal link that you can use when you register. This is almost the last slide. I usually like to give out tips when it comes to submission of documents. For example, for grade 1, it's straightforward. There's no uploading of documents. We rely on CSD. Once you're CSD compliant, you'll just choose your grade, then it takes you to the payment portal. It'll tell you how much you need to pay. You pay like you're doing your online shopping using your card. And then for grade 2 to grade 9, obviously we will require you to have your appointment letter. If the project that you had done within the past 5 years is from SMU, your appointment letter must be on their letterhead. It must be signed. There must be a contact person for us to call and confirm and verify that indeed this particular contractor was given this project by SMU and they had finished that project. So appointment letter must be signed. Completion letter, usually it's a confirmation that you have executed the project within that specified time. Also, completion on letterhead of your client, if it's SMU, it must also be signed. And then for JV, if the project was done through a JV, then there must be a JV agreement. The JV agreement must be signed by all the parties in the JV. If there's 2 parties, they must all sign the agreement. If there's 3 parties, they must all sign the agreement. And an important thing with JVs is that there must be a JV split on the JV agreement. If it's 2 people, then you tell us that it's 50-50. We'll go to the appointment letter. If the amount of the project was 2 million, 50-50 means the one party takes 1 million, the other party takes 1 million. So JV split is very important. Completion, I've spoken about that. Subcontract agreement. With subcontracting, we say because the subcontract is an agreement between the main contractor and the subcontractor. So the documents will be from your main contractor. If I'm the main contractor, I'll write an award to say, I'm giving her a portion of my project. The project is worth 2 million. I'm giving her 30%. I'll state the amount, then I'll sign the appointment letter. The completion will also come from me as a main contractor. The payment will come from me as a main contractor. And then there must also be a subcontractor agreement. It doesn't have to be long, a 2-pager or a 1-pager, so long as it's signed by both parties, the main contractor and the subcontractor. And then with regards to payment, government departments will give you a payment certificate. Private clients will pay the money into your account. They won't give you a payment certificate, but they'll pay the money into your business account. So you give us business bank account from your bank. The statements from the bank must be stamped. And then you just make a tick to show us the payments. That's bank statement number 1, to prove that you have been paid for that project. Then remember, I also spoke about financial statements. You submit financial statements, you're saying on your financial, I am saying I have made 10 million in 2023. So for us to prove and to verify that you have actually made that 10 million in 2023 financial year, we say to you, give us bank statements for that particular financial year end. So you're going to give us stamped bank statements, 12 months bank statements that are stamped, starting from the 1st of February 2020, the 1st of March 2022 to the end of February 2023. That will be your 12 months bank statement. So what we'll do is we'll go through all the credits in your bank statements to check if really you did make that 10 million that you're claiming on your financial statements. Either you give us that or you give us VAT returns. Go back to SARS and they will give you your VAT statement of account. Statement of account goes together with VAT returns. So they'll be bi-monthly. So for 12 months, we need 6 VAT returns and all of them will go with a statement of account. Then that will show us if really you did make that 10 million that you're claiming. Financial statements, obviously, it's comparative years, 2 comparative years. We look at the best year between the 2. Financial statements for closed corporations must be done by a certified accounting officer. Going back to SARS again, there's a practice number that accounting officer must give to you, and it must also be stated on their financial statements. And it is also up to you as a contractor to check. You go on the website. If they're saying it's Cyber, you go on Cyber website, you punch in their practice number, you'll see whether they are registered or not. And it's up to you whether to use them or not. But if you use an unregistered accounting officer, then it disadvantages you as a contractor. And for private companies, obviously certified auditors will compile your financial statements. And once your financials are done by an auditor, we do not require you to submit the 12 months bank statement to verify the turnover because they are done by a certified auditor. And I forgot to mention with JV agreements, with JVs, you need to open a JV account, and I'll tell you why. Remember, the project is done by a JV. It's not done by me only. It's me and Sis Notolo as a JV. So it's Lishan Notolo JV, right? So the payment must go into the JV account. The payment cannot go into her account or into my account because if it's done that way, then it disadvantages the other when they want to upgrade because your JV account is a requirement once you have executed a project as a JV. We need to see the payment going into the JV account. And remember, I also spoke about the split on the JV agreement. So if in the JV account, 10 million has gone into the JV account, and the split says 50-50, so I can claim 50% of that 10 million. I cannot claim the whole 10 because I did not do the project on my own. So I can only claim 50% of the project based on the JV split. Okay, these are the fees applicable. Fortunately for us, you have to pay the admin fees and the annual fees so that we can also get paid. For grade 1, there are no annual fees. It's just an administration fee of 450, and the 450 is valid for 3 years. But the 450 is per class. Remember I said we have 20 classes of works. So if you are going to apply for 5 classes, it will be 450 per class. So it's 450 times 5. Then from grade 2 to grade 9, you will be subjected to annual and administration fee. Remember the annual fee I said for 2 years before expiry, you do your annual renewals, then you pay your annual fees every year for 2 years, and then in the 3rd year, it will be annual fee plus administration fee that you need to pay. For grade 9, for example, if a contractor wants to apply for grade 9, they will pay 55,000 annual fee, and if they are applying for 5 classes of works, it means they'll pay the administration fee for the 5 classes. So it will be 750 times 5 plus the 55,000. And the lifespan is 3 years. You expire after 3 years. You do your annual renewals for the 2 years. Then all parties will be happy. SMU will find active contractors. That is the last slide. I think we'll be taking questions after. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ndlovu, and my apologies for mistaken title. And I think it's a very big error on my side, and it's because I didn't see her. Obviously, if I would have seen her, I would not have made that mistake. I've learned as a supply chain practitioner that one of the area that our tenderers or our businesses in the construction sector and engineering sector, one of the things that they understand most is the CIDB requirements. I can assure you that you were almost preaching to the converted. That I can guarantee you, because they always teach us these things as supply chain practitioners. And great presentation, we really appreciate it. And I think it will be subjected to very serious and robust interactions. With that said, we are moving forward with our program. Out of the commercial banks that we have in South Africa, one of them, it's called Absa Bank. And Absa has got a great, in response to the government call for the development of the previously disadvantaged people, they've developed a program called ESD, Enterprise and Supplier Development. And we have seen them presenting it somewhere, and we thought this would be great for our entrepreneurs. And we thought that we need to invite them to come share with us, mean the department that we are, supply chain, the university, as well as our entrepreneur. Because one of the responsibilities that we have as a university is to empower small and medium enterprises. And with that, I would want to call Mr. Hlatsayo from Absa. He came with the serious interest from Absa that are going to support him in case of questions for clarity and other things that you need to interact with them. But we also made provision, understanding that Absa is a business unlike our SARS, that already they are doing business with us. Absa is also doing business with individuals that are here. They requested that we provide them with a room if there's any other question that you still need to interact with them personally as part of the business. If you can't be able to ask them while they are on the podium. So with that, I'm going to call upon Mr. Hlatsayo to come over and present their ESD program. Thank you so much. Can we give him a round of applause?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Program Director. Apologies for the technical glitch. So, ladies and gentlemen, I must say the presenters who spoke before me, they've done a phenomenal job. And I think it would be a challenge for me to present after their presentations. But I would also like to express gratitude to the organizers for organizing such a phenomenal event. And also, if you look into the program, the way it's structured, it interlinks, it's connected, you know, ranging from SARS, going to CRTP, all the things that we talk about, they are relevant. So on that note, I would just like us to give a round of applause to the organizers and the speakers who spoke before me. Well done. Ladies and gentlemen, SME is a crucial part of our economy and society in general, as it is the creator of employment, but also it contributes towards economic development. So the value that you are adding to society is of utmost importance. On that note, I would like to introduce myself. My name is CP Wehlachwayo. I am the area segment manager for SME in ABSA Tshwane Central. So I am from around here. I'm also accompanied by my fellow colleagues, Skeleto from Enterprise Development, and also Thomas, who is from Personal Banking. Before I get into the presentation, speak about what I'm here for, it is a momentous occasion for me, ladies and gentlemen. I first set foot in this institution 26 years ago on the 8th of August, 1998. By then it was known as Medunsa, notwithstanding the fact that SMU is 10 years old. At that time, I was a student at the University of Durban, Westville. We had visited. And I fell in love with Pretoria, and today I'm a resident. I'm a proud resident of Tshwane. So thank you to Sifao Mahato. And also, it's close to me, because close to my heart, because I've seen the value that this institution has added. 3 of my family members attended this institution. I'm talking about my siblings. My brother, late brother, qualified as a doctor here. I'm originally from Newcastle. And after graduating here, he did community service for 2 years at Matateni Hospital. Then he opened his own practice. And through that, he was able to create 4 jobs in his practice. That's why I'm narrating this story to you. As you are here, you are the providers of jobs, you are the creators of employment. And SMU is also playing a crucial role in that regard. Not only in the health sector, but also you are here as engineers and constructors. One of the things that was mentioned earlier on is that the institution is a construction site. When I arrived here to work in the year 2001, I don't think this building existed, because I used to visit here quite often. So it's a result of initiatives like this that the institution is looking even better. This is a beautiful building, ladies and gentlemen. So the work that you are doing is crucial. My sister is currently residing in Witbank. She's got her own practice. She did a BK nursing degree here and the master's here. I think we were here 2017 for her graduation. She's now running her own practice where she employs 5 people. Can you see the difference that you're making in job creation? According to Stats SA, ladies and gentlemen, the latest report from Stats SA, the unemployment rate has risen to 32.9% compared to Q4 of 2023. So therefore, we've got work to do. And if you look into youth unemployment, it's even worse. On that note, I would like to proceed in the interest of time. At ABSA, we've got enterprise development. Enterprise development is divided into 3 parts. Namely, we provide access to non-financial support And we also have access to funding as one of our functions, and lastly, access to markets. What non-financial support entails is that we provide training, coaching, and mentorship. What I mean by that, on training and mentorship, we look into matters such as building business strategy. Before I proceed, what is a strategy? I know Google will give you a different definition, but what a strategy is that it is a set of integrative choices that position you in a field of your choice and also in a way in which you're going to win. That is a strategy. So we assist you in positioning yourself, and ABSA will cover that particular cost. Mostly the programs, they range for a period of 1 to 6 months. But also, one of the challenges is financial management, cash flow management. I may be preaching to the converted, but one of the observations that one has made in the past 14 years since I've been in SME business is that you will find that a person has got the skill, but when it comes to finances, that's not the part that they will look into. So we assist you in that regard as part of the program. Financial reporting, also marketing activations. I will get into access to markets just now. When we talk of access to markets, we've got partnerships. And those partnerships, they can be of benefit to you. For an example, events such as Proudly South African, you can get an opportunity to go there and exhibit your business and also engage with other stakeholders or with other players in your field, amongst other initiatives that we have. The most important one is access to funding. And on funding, we've got alternative lending solutions. In some instances, you find that collateral is a challenge. So at ABSA, we can assist with new businesses or businesses that are already existing when it comes to collateral through our alternative lending solution. If you need further information, we can engage after the presentation, then we can provide you with further details in that regard, because that seems to be a challenge oftentimes, and it's one of the requirements. Banking operates, as a bank, we operate in a highly regulated environment. When we grant lending, it should be responsible lending, but not reckless lending. And the matter of collateral is one of the requirements over and above affordability. One of the things that you look at on financials, just basically, if I can narrow it down to 3 things, is profitability, solvency, and liquidity. Liquidity, the ability of the business to meet its short-term debts in the short-term period of less than 12 months. Solvency, assets, total assets versus total liabilities. Profitability, meaning income exceeds expenses. So those are the things that we look at, that we assist you with in ensuring that your business grows. Access to markets, as I've already mentioned, ABSA covers the entire cost, and you can also get access to platforms other than the events that I've mentioned, such as Proudly South African, women empowerment events. It also includes platforms such as radio and television. There was a program not long ago on ENCA where businesses were being profiled, and you get much more exposure on television. You get a TV crew that will visit you, meet with you, go through your story. As we say at ABSA, we empower Africa's tomorrow together, one story at a time. So each and every day, you are adding value, and you are also adding another page or chapter to your story. So we would like to partner with you in ensuring that you meet your goals and you also make a difference to society. Alternative lending, I've already touched on it. The aim is just to enhance access to funding opportunities. We also have an initiative called, an offering rather, called Youth and Women in Business. What it entails here, we are looking at businesses that are women-owned, where the ownership is 50.1% and above. Talking of the youth, entities where the majority of the shareholding as well is 50.1% and above, but the requirement is that the people must be younger than 36 years of age. That is for youth. What are the benefits here? It's divided into these quadrants that you see, ladies and gentlemen. In regards to non-financial support, we offer training for 12 months on Udemy, on that platform. And also you get to attend master classes that ensure that you are funding ready. Funding readiness is of utmost importance. This enhances your dynamic skills. What are dynamic skills? The ability to adjust to an environment that is changing. Dynamic capabilities are of utmost importance. COVID-19 came unexpectedly and capabilities came in handy there. So therefore, these master classes are there to empower you. But you also get networking opportunities, as I've mentioned earlier on. Proudly South African, but also we've got the Lioness of Africa event and also the National Small Business Chamber events. That's the non-financial support. Over and above the transactional solutions that you will get, funding where we look at working capital solutions, be it overdrafts or if you want a term loan. The matter of expansion was mentioned earlier on, 2,000 beds. We've got commercial property finance. If you happen to secure the tender, you need assistance, please reach out to us. We can finance such. But also purchase orders and tenders as well, we do finance. The minimum there is 150,000 up to 15 million rand on purchase orders and tenders. But notwithstanding the fact that you may have other bigger projects. So we've got the whole package. Over and above that, you get a relationship banker. Or I also forgot to mention, you also have Lucy, who's a relationship executive, a relationship banker, somebody that you have access to, you can talk to as your banker at any point in time. She is here amongst us, ladies and gentlemen. But over and above that, you've got virtual solutions wherein you can be able to speak to a consultant virtually. We can do things virtually because we need to also change with the times, embrace technology and innovation. Right. In regards to the youth and women offering, I've already mentioned the criteria, but also you get free banking there for 6 months, no fees, and business credit card as well, and favorable rates on lending facilities. However, I wouldn't want to bore you with the details. We can look into that at a later stage, should you wish to do so. Right, the non-financial support I've already mentioned in summary, training, funding, got different alternatives and also alternative lending as well, access to markets, partnerships that will enhance you to grow your business. This may not be applicable to this audience, but I will just go through it nonetheless, just briefly. When we look into merchant devices, if you are making use of those, we've got favorable rates when it comes to youth and women offering. So when it comes to enterprise and supplier development, we are your partner. We will assist you in growing and ensuring that we provide you with the support that you require, be it financial or non-financial support. But also, if you wish to engage with us in regards to your personal banking, meaning private wealth banking, we do also assist there, or if you need us to bank your employees, also we can assist there. You can engage with us after the engagement. So if you wish to be a supplier at ABSA, we've got a facility called the ABSA Marketplace. You can find it on the ABSA website, should you wish now to be a direct supplier to ABSA. So in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, SME has got a crucial role to play in the economy. And the work that you are doing is phenomenal. We need to grow the economy. And as a financial institution, we are here to partner with you to ensure that the objectives are met. You are enabled to meet your objectives and grow our economy. And as I'm about to leave the podium, I would like to conclude by quoting Martin Luther King Jr. when he said, "If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But in whatever you do, you have to keep moving. So keep moving. We need you." Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hlatshwayo, Hlatshwayo, and the colleagues from APSA. I think that was a very good presentation. And I must say, enterprise and supplier development is very close to the institution. There's some milestones that we have done with regard to that project. One of it was localization of some of our activities. And I think we need to take this discussion further and maybe also introduce you to some of our role players within that space so that you are able to empower them. So with that said, we are moving forward. And one of the discussion that happened or presentation that was made by the Chief Operating Officer was that the construction and engineering sector was in the spotlight. One of it being that there is what we call construction mafia that are taking control of our construction space. There is also a lot of activities happening within the procurement space in the construction space that require some intervention. Obviously, one of it being corruption within the space, and also circumventing of the activities and empowerment initiative that the CIDB is busy trying to empower our disadvantaged enterprises. One of it being cover coating, fronting, and so forth. And these role players within the space, they subscribe and are part of the body called the Engineering Council of South Africa. And they are actively participating in the space. And we, amongst ourselves, we have got Mr. Msibi from EXA that is going to give presentation. I think one of it, Mr. Msibi, is to try. I understand that the George building collapse, it's part of the things that are being under investigation. It may be unfortunate that you give the details of your view, but at least at a high level, just to give us comfort that something is happening and the loss of life cannot be ignored. So with that said, I'm going to hand over to Mr. Msibi from EXA to give his presentation. Can we give him a round of applause as he's connecting to the system?
Okay, good afternoon, colleagues. My presentation is a bit long, but I'm going to try to make it short. Maybe let me start with the elephant in the room, the George building collapse. I'm not going to say much because it's under investigation. And please just respect that, colleagues. It's under investigation. I think the CEO of EXA have also spoken on it, and the investigation that are taking part in that regard. So, but I'm going to talk about the Engineering Council of South Africa. I'm going to talk about the registration, why it's necessary, and I'm going to talk about the identification of engineering work. just briefly. So, my name is Mduduzi Msibi. I'm a practicing professional engineering technologist. I don't work for EXA. EXA doesn't have any engineers. Some colleagues will know. It only uses people in the industry to go and preach the gospel of engineering. So that's why I'm here. They've got only administration activities that are happening within EXA. So anything that is engineering-wise, they will get someone from the industry to come in and assist. Any standards, anything, any accreditation that EXA needs to do is done by people that are practicing, me and some of you. So why is the regulation of the engineering? It stems from the Constitution of the Republic that say everybody has got a right to their trade, occupational and professional choosing. And then South Africa decided then that the engineering profession need to be regulated through the Engineering Professions Act, which is the act that governs the Engineering Council of South Africa. So the EXA is established through this Engineering Profession Act, nothing else. So if you look into the environment, built environment landscape, you will know, colleagues, we've got different councils within the built environment landscape, and EXA is one of them. I'm going to mention like South African Council for Landscape Architect Professions is one of the councils. So those 6 councils then report to the Council for Built Environment, which then reports to the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. So in terms of EXA itself, it's got a CEO, who is accounting officer, who accounts to the accounting authority of EXA Council, which is a council that is consisting of people from the public and also practicing professionals like ourselves. So it's about a council of about 50 people or more, and then the EXA CEO will report to them, and then they will report to the CPE and to the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. So if you look into how EXA then regulates the profession, the Section 18 of the Engineering Profession Act will give you the categories of registration, being the professional engineer, professional engineering technologist, professional engineering technician, as well as specified categories. So if you're registering with EXA, you will be registered according to those categories, and they are from the the Engineering Professions Act, as I've mentioned. So how does EXA then regulates the engineering? Through the development of standards that are then used because the Act, or the Engineering Professions Act, says EXA should develop standards in order to regulate. So EXA must then regulate, must then develop those standards. EXA also conduct the accreditation of universities or institutions of higher learning. EXA does the registration of practitioners, development of code of conduct, and also development of code of practice, establishment of and development of specified categories of registration. Specified categories of registration will be those people that are still doing engineering but cannot register as professional engineers, technologists, or professional engineering technicians, like people who are dealing with lifts. They still need to register. It's still engineering work, but it's not they cannot register as professional engineers or professional engineering technician. Sorry, I'm just running through the presentation. I'm worried of time. I'm going to spend time on some of the presentation of the slides that are more important. If you look into this, it's just a development model that each and every practitioner will undergo from stage 1, where you're doing your education at school or accredited program in the higher institution of learning, and then you can register as a candidate. After that, you go to stage 2, where you are meeting the professional competencies, which will take a minimum of 3 years. After that, you can then register as a professional. After that, then you go to stage 3, which is then you are maintaining your registration through CPD, and you're also paying the necessary annual fees. So in terms of registration, you need the education requirements and also demonstrate the competency requirements. We'll talk a little bit about those competency requirements. Competency requirements can only be developed, colleagues, for a minimum of 3 years when somebody is at a working environment and is going through the training that is necessary to develop those competencies. So if meeting educational requirements, there are benchmark qualifications like your national diploma, your BSc, your BTech, and so on. But EXA recognizes that some colleagues, through different reasons or through the history of our country, couldn't get the necessary benchmark qualifications. So EXA has established something called alternative route. In other words, even if you've got your N4, you can still register as a professional engineering technician, but you need a little bit more years. You can see in terms of the benchmark qualification, it's only 3 years that is required after you've completed that qualification. But if you don't have the benchmark qualification, you then need more years of practice before you can register. Again, as a professional engineering technologist, the same applies, but again, you can see the years are just a little bit more that are required for you to practice before you can then register. So recently then EXA also developed a route for everybody, that because people were complaining that, but you don't have an alternative route for professional engineers. So that has now been developed, although you won't find an institution currently that is offering that. People are still doing the accreditation that is necessary, but anyone now can register, can qualify all the way from being a technician all the way to register as a professional engineer. You can see only the bridge that you need from BTech to professional engineer. You need your MEng and as well as the BEng honors. So that too will bridge the gap that is required of meeting the education, and then you can register as a professional engineer. So everybody, EXA is trying to cover everybody, that if you want to register to the highest of registration, you can get a path that takes you there. So we do have, I spoke about standards that EXA developed. So these standards do help colleagues that want to register, like the standard RO2, which is a competency standard. They are all available on the EXA website and they are free. You can access them. But if you want to register, it's very advisable that, or if your employees want to register, to refer them to this standard so that at least they know what is required. Like the competency standard will tell them, because it doesn't mean that because you've got a BSc, you will automatically register as a professional engineer. You still need to tick the competency requirements, and that standards will give you the competency that you need. So in terms of, if we look at the registration, there are 11 outcomes that EXA will look at for anyone that wants to register. So all the practitioners or all the categories are asked the same type of questions, because in engineering, everybody needs to solve the engineering problem, but it depends the complexity of that engineering problem for you to for EXA to decide whether you can register as a professional engineering technician, technologist, or a professional engineer. So we call that a level descriptor. In other words, if you want to register as a professional engineer, you must solve complex engineering problems. And then as an engineering technologist, project-defined engineering problems, and as a technician, well-defined engineering problems. The importance of this, colleagues, is that your qualification alone is not enough to get you register on a particular category. You still need to do the necessary competencies. So if we look at the 11 outcomes that everybody will be asked at, depending on the level of complexity, whether it's well-defined, project-defined, or complex-defined, everybody must solve an engineering problem. What is that engineering problem? You must explain. And then based on the standards that EXA has developed, it will then be referred whether that problem is complex, project-defined, or well-defined. And then again, once you've defined the problem, you must investigate it, analyze it. You must then design and develop solutions to that problems, whilst applying the knowledge that you would have acquired from school or through your training. And then after you've done that, you must then demonstrate that you can manage your engineering activities. So every engineering practitioner will work according to a particular schedule, or you are working as part of the contractor that is working on a schedule. Your activities must then be managed so that it fits the broader schedule. So that's what you need to demonstrate. And then you also must demonstrate that you are aware of your impact of engineering activities. Because we don't want people who are just going to worry about engineering and they don't worry about the social impact, the cultural impact, as well as the environmental impact of their activities. So that's why we've got outcome 6 and outcome 7 that looks at that aspects and also look into the legal requirements. So if someone wants to register, it's important that they are aware of the legal requirements that are applicable in the country that we live in. And then the last 3 outcomes talks about conducting ethical activities ethically, exercising sound judgment, and being responsible in making judgment. And then the last one looks at what you are doing in terms of your professional development. So these are the 11 outcomes that everybody get asked while they are going through the registration in the EXA, at EXA. So I'm not gonna go through these slides, but these slides just talked in details in terms of how do you determine whether the engineering problem is complex defined, well defined, or broadly defined, so that you are then able to say, yes, I can register as a professional engineer because these are the activities that I'm dealing with. But as I said, we've got a competency standard. All this detail is there. This is just a high level, but I'm not gonna go through because it's quite a lengthy. Just briefly, how do we check for registration of candidates, for registration of professionals and candidates? If you want to be a candidate, it's simple. You got your qualifications, you register with EXA. And you also provided online, you can even register online. EXA has done that. But if you want to register as a professional, the system or the process is a little bit complex in a way that it goes through multiple stages. But all this is made so that it becomes fair to the individual, because there's a lot of money that is required for you to register, or for the employees to register. At EXA is about 8,000 that you need to register. So it's important that if your application comes to EXA, it is treated in a way that is fair and is transparent to everyone. So you will see there are different stages that your application will go through. First one being the checking whether the application meets the educational requirement. If it does, then it goes to the next stage where 3 colleagues, people that are at the same registration that you are in and have done the same type of education. If you are chemical engineering, for instance, they would have done chemical engineering. They will look into your applications. Once they are satisfied, it goes to a level of moderation. And after moderation, it goes to the next level of physical interview. It used to be physical, but thanks COVID, we now do interviews only online. And then that interview, you get asked all the 11 outcomes. And then after that, it goes to another set of moderation before then a decision is taken whether you are registered or not. And I can tell you these stages are handled by different people, so that if I hate you, your application does not depend on me only hating you. Other people can make a decision on the application. So, but it do happens that some colleagues get called for 2 types of interviews, and then the first interview will only be called if there are some information that is not clear on your application. They will clarify that one before they decide whether to move you to the next stage or not. Or else they can also give you 12 months to wait on the sideline while you are developing your competencies. That 12 months gives you time so that you don't pay, but still you are given a chance to say, go and develop 1, 2, 3. And then once you develop that, you come back to EXA within 12 months without paying additional fees. So this is the certificate that EXA will give you. Yeah, I know some of them are being produced somewhere, but you can check it on the EXA website, whether a person is indeed registered. I had a colleague who came and said, hey, my company now, they have a problem with my certificate, only to find that the certificate number, it's not his, but the name is his. How he got it, it's another story. So EXA is also, colleagues, is also part of the Engineering Alliance, International Engineering Alliance. So whatever EXA does, it's also being done internationally. There are accords are there to ensure that a level of education for engineers, technologists, and technicians is the same on all the signatories of the International Engineering Alliance. Countries like Australia, countries like UK, countries like the US, New Zealand, Canada, but in Africa, it's only South Africa that is part of the International Engineering Alliance. So anybody who comes from African countries, before you can register at EXA, EXA will look into your application or look at that, what you call education to determine what is the content thereof. But if you're coming from these countries that are part of the International Engineering Alliance, you don't have to, because the level of education is the same. And then there also competency recognition. In other words, how we check competency for engineers, technicians, and technologists is also standardized through these competency recognitions that are there. You can also register as an international registered practitioner, but you need 7 years, not the 3 years that I spoke about. But the rest is the same. You just need a little bit more years of practice. There is also a mutual recognition agreement that EXA has done with some countries like Engineers Australia, that everybody who's registered in any category, if you go to the Australia, for instance, you can be your registration can be recognized without you going through their registration evaluation again. The Ireland, all categories again. UK is only PRN for civil engineers. There are also, EXA works a lot with your SAIEs, your SAISE, your CESA, all of those, because those are voluntary association. EXA get us, who will then be assessors, reviewers, and moderators from those voluntary associations. So there is a way of understanding between the two people. Let me just talk about one last thing. I see the slides are not here. The identification of engineering work. In 2021, EXA gazetted the identification of engineering work. What is the identification of engineering work? It says everybody who practices engineering should be registered with EXA. So in other words, if you're not registered with EXA, you are not going to practice engineering. But through EXA realizing that there is a lot of gaps and other people are challenging that stance through the Competitions Commission and so on, EXA then decided that before they can formally introduce the biting on that, they will engage the municipalities, they will engage the various sectors that are impacted by this identification of engineering work. But it's coming next year, 2025, that says everybody who practices engineering must be registered at a particular category. Otherwise, you must work under somebody who's registered. So that is coming, colleagues. It's EXA is also developing mechanism to ensure that people that are designing structures that are falling don't have a role within our sector, because always when we have to react and try, like what is happening in George, now everybody has lost life, now there is a reaction, but this could have been prevented. So EXA is trying to prevent that, but you must know that a lot of people have been benefiting in doing engineering without registration. So they fought that. Hence, we had to go through the Competitions Commission and explain what is that, and also explain that this is not what is EXA's development, it's coming from the Act. So it's not that EXA has just decided that let's do it, but it's coming from the Act. So colleagues, that is my presentation. I will sit for the questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. What an insightful kind of a presentation. The George Collapse building have been touched a little bit. We are going to wait with the bated breath on the outcome of the report. Colleagues and ladies and gentlemen, I want to confirm that anyone from National Treasury has not arrived. So confirmed. This is the time that we all have been waiting for, which is the participation of everyone. That I've also indicated that we have got the adjudication committee that has been appointed by the director, SCM, to look at the inputs that are going to be submitted. And she gave me an instruction that though I said two, that may be augmented depending on the questions that are going to be submitted. We're going to open for questions and inputs. There will be mic that is going to be Can I get my colleagues from SCM to come fetch the mic so that they can be able to help with the questions and inputs? We're going to take first rounds of questions, 5 of them, and allow for interactions and response by our speakers. Remember that we also requested that where possible, please give us inputs. As I said, SMU, it's not only center of learning for the health sciences, but also for all aspects of our activities, including supply chain, built environment. If there's anything that you want to input to the challenges that we have shared with you, please feel free to do so. I'm going to take recognized hands. If you have got questions, what we would request you to do for the purpose of adjudication, you would have to mention your name and the company that you're coming from. So you are the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and I'll take the first 5. And in that sequence, I'll start with you, and then we'll take the second round.
All right, thanks. Afternoon, colleagues. My name is Pule from Denka. I have a comment or a statement, and number 2 is a question in the form of a suggestion. One is mainly in terms of, I've made a note of the sensation regarding the late submission by the contractors or service providers, or poor to that effect. I think to an extent of also introspecting, I remember there was a one tender we attended a briefing for here. It was a 9 GB. There were, I don't even recall how many extensions or addendums were there. The question becomes also to say how ready is the packaging of the tender document, because if the packaging of the tender document is poor, chances are that you'll only get poor feedback. That one is given. Because oftentimes that's always the case. You find clients sending addendums the night before, whereas the tender document is already on its way to the submission venue. So it's always typically unfair, but we have to work with it because we are looking for business and we always have to go an extra mile. So one would be to say the state of readiness when packaging the document, because if a tender has 2 or 4 or 5 addendums, one needs to ask himself then to say, how ready was the client? Because you cannot then put it back to the service providers and say that either they send it late or it was non-compliant. That was just a statement. The second one is coming with respect to the evaluation also. And this one I always pose because I've also had an opportunity to be on the other side while I was a consultant. I've sat on some evaluation committees. There's always a debate, and I'm going to be straightforward with my example. You might find that you are doing a building. It's a 200 million project building. Within a building, remember there are different components of works. You can have electrical, which is EB, have GB. Sometimes the project is classified as a GB. Let's say it's advertised for 9 GB, is 250 million. But then, oftentimes later on, when the client gives you a reference letter, they will say ABC completed a building in Bloemfontein, which consisted of maybe roadworks. They put a figure, electrical works, they put a figure, and so on. Then when I take that reference letter or appointment with reference of what I did, then you advertise a project of say 30 million, but on the appointment letter and the reference of that specific project I did, just the component part of civil works, let's say was over 60 million. It's always an argument to say, well, it might have been advertised as a GB, as on 230 million, but you find the component of civil works there. On its own, it's even more than the grading you advertise your CES. So I'm hoping that, and it's just a general sensation, to the industry experts and other colleagues who are here, the consultant and contractors, to say, to what degree are we able to stretch in terms of those requirements? Because I might have 2 appointment letters of 200 million, but underneath there, you find that I've exhausted even a 7 CE contract if I just put 2 or 3 appointment letters with references showing that I executed a 1 billion or whatever project. So it was just a statement and suggesting to say, how can we explore to that effect of then drawing the experience? Because oftentimes people are shortcut by that. Yeah, so those were my 2 sentiments. One was with respect to the state of readiness for the clients when they issue tenders, and number 2, to say how can we explore to exhaust that level of detail when the clients are evaluating the tenders, in particular to a specific rate. If I have 1 appointment letter and then taking into account quite a number of classes of works. Thanks.
Thank you so much. We would appeal that those that are following with questions, please try to summarize it so that we give everyone an opportunity to speak. Give him a mic. Our colleagues from Built Environment, please take note of the first question so that we are able to respond to it.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Linus Chiasa from Aquaproof Projects. My question pertains to financial capability. Basically looking at it from the point of the SCM's view. What I would like to know is, as far as SCM, they refer to financial capability looking at the submission of financials. What I would like to know is it just the submission and their correctness, or they will actually be looking to see if the company has made a loss or not? And my question is related to the fact that if I meet the CIDB grading, CIDB will have looked at my financial capability as per the grade. So my point is, if I qualify for the CIDB grading, should I further be assessed for financial capability at SCM level? Thank you.
Thank you so much. My name is Trevor. We're from a company called Greenfield Resources. We are a PSP. So ours actually is more specific. We went through the process, evaluation, and appointment. But we got to a point where the contract signing, where we did the prox agreement, and yeah, from there we've been following up. I think from last year up to now, there's no there's no feedback. So we did all the follow-ups, email, phone calls, but we seem to be very stuck. So we don't know how to move forward, because obviously the client, I want to believe they require the services and we need the business, but we get to a point where nothing is happening, although we went through that. So I'm just trying to follow up on what can be done in such a situation where you had to go through the processes, but you get stuck. Thank you.
Okay, just to confirm from my SCM colleagues if that question has been captured correctly. Okay, I think maybe try to be specific in terms of which tender that you're speaking or RFP that you're speaking to, so that we are able to respond effectively. Because I was checking with my director if she...
Okay, it's for quantity surveying services.
Quantity surveys, okay.
Yes.
Sure.
From Greenfield Resources. It's the name of the company. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good day, everyone. My name is Matsidiso Slapzane from the company called Vugo. Mine is simple. It's about women empowerment and gender equality. I didn't hear the CEO say anything about women empowerment projects. So I would like to know if you are considering to have a certain percentage of projects that will be focused on women empowerment, because we are lacking a lot when it comes to engineering, the engineering space and construction. As women, we are normally given catering, the supply of cold drinks. Anyone can do that, you know. Anyone can do that. Even my 15-year-old, if you can give her a tender of supply to go and buy cold drinks and fish and chips, she can do that. But just want to know if SMU is considering to make an allocation. If you are not considering that, I'm giving you an idea. But you'll have to pay me for my intellectual property. I'm giving you an idea to consider that as soon as possible. We are here as women, we are available. We have every document in good standing. Please consider us, make at least an allocation of 30% for women. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Nozipo from CCB. I'd like to pose a question to Ms. Nokolo, because she was addressing us about the administrative processes. She mentioned that one of the requirements is the letter of good standing from Department of Labor. So I'd like to know that if the company has the standing from FEM, is that still going to be recognized or not?
Okay, thank you. I would want to use the sequence on which the questions came, and the first one was relating to our built environment. I think that day Mateja was taking notes. Can you actually do that to that one? I think you will have to because okay. I'm told that the first question was not clear. I've also raised the concern that we need to summarize our questions so that it becomes clear. So the second one was with regard to the submission of the financial statements, whether they are just done as the by the way, or there's anything that we need to scrutinize on those financial statements. You want to take it? And maybe take other questions that are directed at
The idea of us requesting audited and reviewed financial statements is to ensure that we check the liquidity of the company. And you may have noted with the recent one that we also require a letter from the bank, especially with the CIDB projects that confirms your coding. And in answering also, I think there was, before I go to the CCB question on the quantity surveying, I am not sure if it relates to the appointment of panel that we did recently. However, I need to indicate that SCM hands over the project to the user department as soon as the appointment and contracting is concluded. And if it relates to the appointment of panel, the work gets allocated to the appointed service providers on a need basis. So all the appointed service providers would be then appointed to individual projects as a need arises. And I'm not sure if I've answered that. Say.
Thank you, ma'am. Not really, because it was for a specific project. So actually, you are correct to say it was handed over to the end user, which I want to believe is the infrastructure department. So yeah, that's where probably things are stuck. But from our side, we don't know where to follow up because we've been dealing with supply chain. So maybe if we can get a contact to follow up. Thank you.
maybe I can request that we have a session after this together with built environment to be able to provide the relevant answers. Yes, and on the CCB question, apologies for citing the name of the service provider. The last question. We normally request a letter of good standing from the Department of Labor and or a tender letter if you don't have the letter from the department.
Thank you. I will then deal with the gender responsiveness of our SCM process. I need to confirm with you that as a university, we are very much committed to empowering women. What we did last year, similar to what we have done this year, is that the supplier day for last year was called Gender Responsive Procurement. And it was well publicized on the media, including Sunday Times. Unfortunately, you were not here to give us inputs on how we're going to deal with it. And if you were here, I think this input would have helped us a lot, because what we were trying to do with that session was to solicit information on how best we can implement gender responsive procurement. But as the director said, at the end of the session, we are going to interact with you so that we get inputs. So what we do in all our tenders, what we do is that the quota that we have identified as very critical is localization. We understand that in terms of the broad-based black economic empowerment, already women benefit from that particular certification. And as such, giving you an additional benefit would be very good for us. But already, once you advertise, because the portion of the certificate include the portion that is allocated for businesses that are owned by women enterprises. However, we are willing to take it further beyond what the prescripts of the government prescribe, so that then we are able to stand out amongst the rest in terms of empowerment of women. So we are really committed to it, and we'll be able to assist you if you can share with us the best information that will be able to assist us to move forward. I think the other questions have been responded to by the director and built environment. Anything that you want to share with regard to what has been said? Would you prefer that he repeats the question? Yes. Okay. My good chair.
In brief, what I was just making a suggestion, Chair, to say to an extent that if they require during the evaluation, particularly the technical part, because they wouldn't understand the scope or the extent of what needs to happen. So I was saying maybe if we're open-minded to say if someone submits an appointment and a reference which shows the different class of works which were done under one project, and say for instance it was like the road upgrade, let's take for instance that road upgrade, it's a CE, let's say it's 6EE, I'm just making an example. And I've done a project whereby underneath the GB, I was building a hospital, but I had to do access road and so on and so on. But the amount of that access road is even more than the CE advertised for. So I was saying maybe later on if we can be open-minded and look at some of those kind of things, then we'll see that sometimes it's not experience which is missing, but the manner in which it's presented. You understand? Yes. Thanks, Chair.
I think it's very clear. That input is well received. I'm not sure if my colleagues technically would want to ask any technical questions, but from the SCM perspective, the question is clear and it's well received. The input is clear and well received. Is it doable? Okay.
Thanks for the question at hand. I think the question is rather straightforward. He's saying that in a package of works that is given, you have specialist services that allow for internally there. Wherever you have specialist services that are allowed for, all right, more often than not, those become budgetary allowances in order for you to go out and source that specialist, right? What you are paid for there is profit and attendance for coordination of that specialist service. Not that you intend to do the service yourself, but rather that service would then be done by the specialist himself. So consideration for that, it can't be, because the nature of the works would be a building, not that it would be the road in itself. So that's a big consideration. You can't be factored for both. You can't be a mechanical engineer while doing general building work. You'll source out the specialist work. I think that's the reality of it, and we just need to align to best practice moving forward.
Thank you. Can we take the next round of set of questions? You are recognized first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. Yes.
Thank you. Afternoon, everyone. I'm Sam from Kobadi Civils. My first question, I think, is under Hudson. It says, how are you going to link the business, the local business forum with the specialists that will be, doing some work under SMU? And then the second one is under Mr. Ndlovu about the CIDB. Why is CIDB not considering qualification when they pack the gradings? And then another one is, if let's say maybe we have a specialist and he's more than 20 years experience and then he's highly qualified, and then when you pack that and then we find that the guy is under 1 GB, and then will that be fair enough, for that particular guy?
Good day, everyone. I'm sorry for the voice. It's going to be a horrible voice. My name is Kiabetswe from Nkinyezi Holdings, Pty Limited. I see SMU, that the facility, they brought a facilitator here also to present ECSA. I'm wondering, does SMU also know that they have another facilitator when coming to projects which are construction, everything? Ne? They fall under, this facilitator is a PURCO, South African. Now, do we also, as small businesses, have to register with them and also get to, fill out a form so that we can hand it out also to them so that they can facilitate whatever tender that we get from the university? Because they are nationwide. They do also higher education facilities, like facilitating the whatever procurement that should be happening into the South African higher education. I'm wondering why they're not here as well. Why didn't you bring them?
Good afternoon. My name is Melissa from Azra Developments. I have a question regarding the letter of good standing again. We recently upgraded redid our letter of good standing, which is FEM, and it's endorsed by the Labor Department. So I'm not sure why we're still not recognized and how we can help with that, because we've been doing that for the past years, and now if we can't submit it with you guys, but it's still endorsed by the Labor Department at the end, I'm not sure how we go around with that.
Good afternoon. My name is Cyril Patswani from Gugano Kanya Holdings. I think this the part of my question was asked by the first number one of the second round. Secondly, it's my general feeling in terms of how these presentations were made. I think it becomes a bureaucrat of some sort for the institution to say, we are taking some of the works that were done by the locals away from the locals due to the fact that maybe they are not meeting certain criteria. It becoming a bureaucracy of some sort. Can't we maybe have the clear indication exactly why was this presentation made? Because of, I don't see members of your protocol of engagement. They are not here. And you ask yourself that tomorrow it will be going back in terms of the community and saying, you were called in the seminar, you were not there, this have been done, and then we are taking this away from you and so on. I think this seminar is taking certain powers away from them. Thank you.
Fifth question, and we're going,
Greetings to the House at large. My question is directed to the supply chain manager. This is not Golo. So my name is Tabang from Logukulu, PTY Ltd. Okay, my question will address the track record, financials, opportunities, and grading. So I just want to ask that if maybe I have a startup like an organization, a new organization that has no track record, no financials, maybe to submit as proof, and the opportunities that were listed there, most of them, like in terms of compliance, is that you must, they will check the track record and you must submit the financials for you to be given that particular opportunity. Is there consideration for startup organization in all the opportunities that will be advertised? Yeah, that's my question.
Colleagues, I think we mentioned, or maybe our program director mentioned that we are also trying to avoid a situation where we get service providers that do not have experience. And also in setting out our administrative requirements, we look into the functionality that has been set out for the project. An example would be if you are looking for a service provider that has a track record of or maybe an experience of 5 years, you obviously would expect the service provider to have had a set of financials. And in the requirements of financial statements, we mentioned that it's either audited for the big entities, and for small entities, it's reviewed by a registered accounting firm. So we do take consideration for upcoming service providers in that we accept reviewed set of financials.
Thank you for the question directed at the CIDB. Your question was with regards to qualifications, why the CIDB is not, when packaging their grading, yes, why don't they consider qualifications? Okay. How it works is, I'll give an example. I go to school to become, or I study law for 7 years, but I don't practice. I don't get into the law field to practice what I've studied for, right? So I think it's the same thing with regards to when it comes to construction. A person can go to school for whatever qualification in the built environment, but if they don't get to practice what they have studied for, how are you going to trust them to be able to do the actual work in construction? But the regulations are being reviewed and going forward, but that will be after the regulations have been reviewed and have been gazetted. The CIDB is looking into filtering in a qualification, but the person that is qualified must be full-time employed in that entity, and the grading, how we are doing our gradings now is going to change a bit. Remember, we have grade 1 to grade 9. Now we're going to say, give us your track record, give us your financials. Do you have a qualified person in the built environment within your company, right? And how it's going to work is, now we're going to have grading designations that are between the gradings. So it's like a point system where we're saying, if your company has a qualified person, then you get a point. So for example, if ideally you would go for grade 2 without a qualified person, now we're saying there will be something between grade 2 and grade 3 because of the qualified person, but there'll be terms and conditions for that for that entity to be graded if they do have a qualified person. I don't know if it makes sense, but like I say, it's still under talks, and it hasn't been gazetted yet. It hasn't been regulated yet, but those are the talks that are at the table currently. And also with, for example, if you look at how the CIDB describes construction, it takes out the labor and supply factor of the construction. So we're saying, for you to be considered as a contractor, you must do both labor supply and buy the material. So currently it has taken out the supply factor and the labor factor. For example, I cannot go to the CIDB and say, I did labor for this particular company, I want to register. We won't register you. But what is on the table now is to also consider those people that are doing labor only and supply only. And yeah, it's still under talks, and hopefully it will come up positively. Thank you.
Thanks. I'll respond to 2 questions. One, it's with regard to how did we decide on the invitation on EXA to the exclusion of the others. You can imagine if we were to invite everyone, it means that we're going to have a 3-day session because there are multiple stakeholders that will be invited. The same question may be, why did we invite ABSA to the exclusion of Nedbank, Standard Bank, and the rest of the other banks? And it's similar to what you're asking us. So we couldn't invite all the banks, we couldn't invite all the regulatory bodies that are responsible for the construction industry, but we thought the ones that we invited are key stakeholders that will be able to share information. And this is it's a progressive kind of a session that in the future would also invite others to share their thoughts and their information with regard to their business. The second one is with regard to the participation of our local businesses. We equally disappointed, as you are, say, by the fact that when we look amongst ourselves, as we know our local businesses, there are very few of them in attendance. And that is very disappointing for us. Because what we did was mainly to empower mainly our local businesses. And for the fact that they did not come, it's an indictment on their side. That when we provide platform for them to be able to interact with us, by bringing SARS to be able to help them with their tax issues, by bringing CIDB to able to help them with their CIDB registration, by bringing EXA to help them with their professionalization part, they are not willing to come. That is an indictment on their side. The background is that the university signed what we call Protocol of Engagement with the local community business forum, dating back 2016. That has been revised looking at the material condition of where we are in terms of our relationship, and it was revised together in a forum that also the community was represented, and it went back and forth. Ultimately, that protocol of engagement was signed last year, 2022. And we established what we call steering committee that involve the university employees, chaired by myself, empowered by the VC to lead that committee, and with the participation of the members of the community. This year, with their request, that steercom has been disbanded. It doesn't exist. We are working with them as individuals. There is no collectivity in terms of how we approach things, and that was done on their request. They wrote to the VC to request that they want to meet with the VC, and in the engagement during the meeting, it was submitted that they want the steercom to be dissolved and the new names will be submitted. That's where we are in terms of that process. But when we organized this event, though we would appreciate everyone coming from different corners, but we wanted our local community business to come and listen, learn, be empowered, so that when they come and submit their RFQs proposals, they must be informed by what they would have learned from today. We are as disappointed as you are. That's the response that I can give to you. Can we take possibly the last round of questions, while I'll be allowing my adjudication committee to also prepare in terms of the assignment that we've given them. So I'm going to take the last 5, if you allow me. You are recognized. Second. Maybe if there's anyone that wanted to take that question, if that can be, I'm just checking with my colleagues if you understood the question and somebody can respond. Or if you are willing to clarify what was missed. Can you do that first?
Yes, I was asking about the FEM letter of good standing. Why it's not being taken, because it's also endorsed by the Labor Department. FEM letter of good standing.
Okay. Colleagues, I think if you check on our tender documents, what we say we want a tender letter from the Department of Employment or Unemployment, Employment and Labor, and or a letter of good standing, which is COIDA. I'm not sure what is the confusion about that, because we usually do that when we advertise. We are cognizant of the fact that you might be owning a business, but because you are a small business, you don't appoint or you don't have employees on a regular basis. You only appoint as and when basis. And for that fact, you will not have employees that will submit to COIDA. But you can go to the department and request that they give you a tender letter, which is a very swift process that they usually issue a letter, if you can prove that you don't have employees that you have appointed on a full-time basis.
I'm sorry, sir, but
sorry, I just want to assist my colleague. Basically, the COIDA letter of good standing, in a way, is an insurance to say if there is an accident on site, whoever is involved in the accident will be covered by that insurance. And the FEM that she's referring to is basically a similar insurance, and it is accepted in place of the COIDA letter. So her question is, I think in the presentation, it was said the COIDA letter, and her question is, would the FEM letter of good standing be accepted? And she hasn't got that confirmation. That's what she's chasing. In my view, the FEM letter of good standing is similar to the COIDA letter, and it is normally accepted.
Colleagues, like I said when we started, this is going to be a lesson learned for us as an organization as well. Hence, you are here to give us inputs. I see you are being agitated.
No. Good day, colleagues. No, FEM letter is accepted because it also has the reference letter. So we usually check whether it's a valid one, as much as we check the COIDA, because you know, colleagues, some of you, you submit invalid COIDAs. So it is acceptable and we verify it. Yes, we do. And if you continue with submitting valid documents, you will be on that list of service providers that the university won't be able to work with in future.
Not only the university, but the whole public service, because we will also register you on the defaulters from the National Treasury, because we are also a public entity. We are a higher institution learning that is established in terms of the Higher Education Act. So we're taking the last round. I've noted hands. Can we then allow, can you allow those two gentlemen to?
Good day, colleagues. My name is Gibson Tajwa. I'm from Pictorial Constructions. I have two questions. One is directed to APSA, with an understanding that there are no other banks. Do you still issue bank codings as APSA? And the second one is to the CIDB. I might get the figures wrong, but my challenge, and not directing this to SMU because I've seen it happen somewhere, is that when a client issues an advert, maybe let's say 3 GB, and on the functionality, they would require for experience projects that are higher than the 3 GB qualification, than what CIDB is requiring. For example, CIDB might require for you to qualify for 3 GB, you must have done a project of 1.5 million. But when the client on functionality, on experience, and then they require an experience higher than a 1.5 million. I think there is a contradiction there, and maybe the CIDB can advise us on how to resolve the issue.
Thank you.
Good day, everyone. My name is Dembe Nefare, and I also own a company called Vista Versatile Holdings. So I'd just like to ask here at SMU, would like to do a proposal, and also I just want to be advised where I can send our proposals. So we are interested in supplying, and also not just supplying, but also on the project for solar. So I'm not sure if it's something that SME is currently interested in, or as far as I've done my research, I don't think there's a tender yet which is out. So can you please advise if I have a proposal, you know, what are the steps? And also on the follow-ups regarding the CIDB that I have also noticed is that I might not qualify, but I believe with correct partners, that should be an issue. Thanks.
Hi everyone, Deborah Matlo from Greenleaf Importers. We are an electrical and solar company. We are an independent power producer as well. I just want to ask, sir, you did mention something about the school, besides it being a health faculty, that you guys have land that you would like to use for other revenues. I'm not sure if I got that right. And I wanted to ask if an independent power producer can come in using the land that you guys have, which we don't have. For example, we have many, us being in Harangua and looking at the electrical issue, we are able to use the land that you have to do what we call power producer agreements and willing as well. Is that something that the university would be interested in that case?
Thank you. My name is Dr. Seth Mukwebo. So my training is in finance, but we have discovered that there is actually an opportunity in the interface between finance and construction. So we are extending the scope of work of our business, such that right now, in construction, we're nothing but a startup. And somebody earlier in the previous round of questions made reference to what is the university doing, or will it give cognizance to startups? Now, this question now is therefore directed to Ms. Ndlovu of the CIDB, because earlier you were talking about the registration process in terms of upgrades. And you kept on referring to the main contractor. So I've discovered out of conducting research that actually you can grow by being a subcontractor. So we can identify somebody who's been given work, and we go there and make a proposal that we be a subcontractor. We can contribute in terms of finances, we can contribute in terms of skills, work, everything. So then the question that I have is, what is it that we should request from the main contractor so that we can have our CIDB index or rating go up as well? For example, you talked for the main contractor, you talked about the appointment letter, you talked about the completion certificate, you talked about a number of things. So I'll appreciate for a startup that is subcontracting, what are the artifacts or various, what is it that we should satisfy to CIDB so that we can move from level 1 all the way to 9? That's the first one. Number 2, I've discovered that there could be, look, I'm not an engineer or anything, as I said, my PhD is in finance. I've discovered that in construction and engineering, there's a lot that one can do. When we are appointed, for example, somebody is building a road or building a classroom like this, and then we're offered to say, they come and paint or do tiling or do whatever. Should we also request from the main contractor the specific work that they're giving us, so that we just want to be sure, so that we just don't go around not knowing exactly what you should, the paperwork that we should request, so that we can be clear? Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Malian. I'd like to add on the question that was asked in terms of how does you come with the gradings in terms of the works that you are taking out. We've noticed now recently that for one to have maybe a work of less than 70,000 in SMU, you have to have a grade 2 or grade 3. I don't know how you come to that, because of now it becomes a norm. I don't know whether you are closing up for the small businesses outside so that they can qualify and move forward. Because of last year, in fact, early this year, there was an advertisement for the panel for plumbing works. And your requirement was grade 3. I don't know how you come to grade 3 into that, and you only took one company to do that. I don't know how you come to that, because of there might be a work that needs maybe 60,000 in terms of, we know that you are not longer issuing out the emergency work. But you will find out if maybe you have 5 companies, different grades, and say, no, okay, fine. This work will need maybe grade 1 GB or grade 1 EC and so on. It's gonna work. But now what SMU, hence we want the CIDB also to assist us of is it advisable for SMU to do that or not? Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, okay. Thank you so much. In regards to the question about bank codes, yes, we still issue bank codes. However, the way in which you do it is that there's an email that you need to send through. It's bankcodes@absa.co.za. So you send an email there, you will state the information, the amount, the term, in regards to the period. You just put everything in that mail, then you will receive a response on that mail and also with a document confirming that. But the important thing is the email, bankcodes@absa.co.za. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's 2 questions. Okay. I think the first question I think it's more of SCM processes, because it's speaking about functionality, where an advert will come out calling for contractors on a grade 3 GB, but then when it comes to the assessment and the adjudication process, one of the things that tender will call for is functionality, and it will say, it will call for a higher grading. I think this comes in where the advert will say grade 3 GB or higher. I'm not sure. It's SCM when it comes to functionality. It's an SCM process, and I'm not an expert when it comes to SCM processes. I think we have SCM personnel here. I think they might be able to assist with regards to that question. And the second question, I think it has to do more of subcontracting. Remember, when you subcontract, the agreement is between you and the main contractor, right? And CIDB will not request for any information that is outside of the main contractor and the subcontractor. We will not request you to give us an award letter from the client to the main contractor. The only information that we will require for you to submit will be the information between you and the main contractor. I'll give you an example where a main contractor will say maybe your main contractor is your client, right? And they have secured a project of, say, 5 million. And for some reason or other, they do not have the skill or the capability to execute that project entirely. So they will source out the services of a subcontractor, and it's between you and the main contractor when it comes to the percentages that the main contractor can afford to the subcontractor. Remember, you as a startup, you have the financial capability, you have the skills to execute that project. So that will be between you and the main contractor. When you come to the CIDB and say, this is our agreement, the main contractor has given me, has subcontracted, say, 70% of the project. We as the CIDB will not question that. It's an agreement between the two of you. So what I'm saying is, yes, it is possible for a subcontract to get a project that can move them from grade 1 to grade 4 based on their agreement between him and the main contractor. So it is possible for you as a startup to move from grade 1 to grade 3 or to grade 4. That will be an agreement between you and the main contractor. As the CIDB, we say, give us the award from your main contractor. The main contractor will not indicate in the award that the main project was this amount. No, they'll only indicate the amount subcontracted to you as a subcontractor, and that is more than enough. On the award letter, yes, they will just indicate the amount that has been subcontracted to you. And also on the completion, they will just confirm that, yes, you have completed the project, and yes, you were paid. So the payment, like I said, will come from your main contractor to you as a subcontractor. And the payment will tally with the award. So if the award says they've subcontracted 5 million, in the bank statements, we want to see that 5 million coming from your main contractor to you. Okay. The other question, I'm not sure about the other question, the last question. If you can maybe...
I think the last question is the one that you said it's an SCM competence. You would not want to venture into something that you don't understand. Yeah. So, yes, as you were responding, I was having some discussion with our built environment colleagues in trying to solicit a response with regard to the unsolicited solar project. The conclusion that we then arrived at collectively is that the SCM policy make provision for what we call unsolicited bid, where if you have got a business proposal that has not been advertised by the university and you think it's a serious innovation and it has not been done by anyone anywhere else, you can submit a proposal to us and we'll look at it and the principals of the institution will decide. That's how we deal with unsolicited bid. But let me tell you that you should show innovation. It should be something that has been not that been done by anyone else. And if it has been done, it has been done in a very conventional manner, and you want to innovate from that basic project. So with regard to our compliance to CIDB and putting the higher gradings as asked by two colleagues, one indicated that it is not done at SCM, he has not seen it. It is done anywhere else, but he wanted CIDB to respond on what are the legislative framework and regulation governing that. Is there any measures that can be taken against those employers? And the second one was referring to us as SMU that we are also a culprit of that kind of practice, and they want to know why are we doing it. Because that is coming from a local community on our side, would want to really have a separate discussion with you so that we deal with that matter, as we would not want to put our dirty linen in the front of our guests. So we'll deal with that matter on a separate forum, and we are willing to engage you on that. But I think basically with anyone else that does it, you can imagine that we all want to be honest. And our role is to get most competent, suitable service provider to do the service in our environment. And your role is to make sure that you provide that particular service. And amongst yourselves, there's people that are not genuine in how they do things. Some of them forge their CIDB gradings. Some of them forge their corridor certificates. Some of them forge WASARs. Some of them forge their tax compliance status certificate. I'm telling you so that then you deal with them. I'm mentioning it to you so that when we send to you and say this one fraudulently submitted your document, you must have a mechanism to deal with them, because it can't be our problem only. It is a collective problem that we all need to solve, and it is also your problem as well, because we end up appointing, if we don't do thorough verification, we end up appointing wrong service provider. That work would have been done by you as a competent and committed service provider. So we would really appreciate when you whistleblow and say this one submitted a fraudulent document, because you know each other. So the frustration comes as a result of such kind of culprits, and you would want to circumvent the poor workmanship by bringing somebody at a higher level, which is not a good thing, but sometimes you end up not having a choice but to do that, because you want to make sure that you get a suitable service provider. Be as it may, as I said, on our side, we're going to engage our local business forum, and that submission will be ventilated seriously in that forum to deal with the challenges that they have faced as a university. I think with that said, we now going to continue with our, before you leave, sir, maybe you are the winner, so you can sit down and win before you leave. I'm going to invite my adjudication committee to come give us a report, and I'm going to invite Prof. Baker and the acting director, Build Environment, the director, SCM, to come to the fourth to administer this token of appreciation for those that contributed significantly. And immediately after that, I won't stand up again. I'll ask Prof. Baker to give a vote of thanks, and we're going then to call our esteemed panel of presenters to come forth so that you also get your token of appreciation. Director Build Environment, Prof. Baker, Director SCM, and our adjudication committee to make announcements so that we can give them.
Good afternoon, colleagues. On a lighter note, Naledi from SCM, I'm with Mr. Ramalebana from SCM as well. We're just here to acknowledge your inputs, your exceptional inputs and questions, colleagues. I have Pule from DECA talking about the readiness of the documents before going out for the bid. Did I get it right? Pule from Deka. Come through, please. We have Matsidiso from Vugo. She spoke about the acknowledgement of women in the engineering and construction sector. And we have Tabang, who spoke about the compliance and administrative requirements. Tabang. Next is Kiabetsu from Nkanyezi. He spoke about the exclusion of other facilitation companies. Invitation of EXA, not inviting other stakeholders as well. Is that the last one? How many do you have? No, it's fine. Oh, okay. We have some from Kowadi Civils. He spoke about linking of local business forums to the bigger picture. Some from Kowadi Civils. We have, I didn't get the name right, but the guy spoke about the assessment of financial capability at the SCM level from that side. Thank you. Thank you. The last one. And we have the gentleman in the front row here talking about the artifact of subcontracting, progressing to be the main contractor. Okay. Okay. Our last one. We have the gentleman at the back there giving an input about the exclusion of our local communities in our session. Thank you, colleagues.
Can we give our adjudication committee another round of applause as they're working out? And we now come. We're going to give to Prof. Baker to give the vote of thanks. Then we'll make announcements after.
Thank you so much, Mr. Malayane. I think it's been a successful event, right? And I'd like to really thank all of our attendees, all our invited guests, our speakers. Without you, this event wouldn't be possible. So we'd really like to thank you, and we value your time that you have spent by being with us today. Then I'd also like to just say that this is the first Construction and Engineering Supplier Day that the university is hosting. And we look forward to seeing you all back again on the next session. So I'd really like to thank the Office of the CFO and the COO for supporting and hosting this specific event for the university. Specifically, I'd like to thank the organizers, which in this case is the Director Supply Chain Management and her team. Also, Mr. Malayane for being the program director today. Also, the Director Built Environment and her team. I see we have many representatives from both directorates here, and really thank you for all your inputs and in arranging the event for today. I'm sure you're going to enjoy the eats afterwards as well, so that's also part of the arrangements, right? Then also I'd like to just thank all our distinguished speakers that have honored us with your time also today. We really saw within the presentations that there's a golden thread going through all of these and specifically the compliance relating to all of these. So I'd like to individually just thank all our speakers. Ms. Motseme from SARS. We know we have to pay our tax and always our VAT, right? To be compliant. Then also Ms. Ndlovu, thank you so much for your presentation from CIDB. And we know that you're from the projects units, but we really value all your inputs and support that you are providing to our visitors and our guests. Then Mr. Hlatswayo from APSA, thank you so much for your presentation. And yeah, we really value the support also from all of our potential partners in developing young professionals as they embark on new careers. Then Mr. Msibi, also very strongly from a compliance perspective for our engineers. We really value your inputs as well. So I think in everything that we have done today, we have really spoken to this golden thread of compliance. And I'm sure that if there's any additional support and questions that you may have, our speakers are also here, hopefully afterwards to join us for something to eat and also to take some questions if you have as well. Then also I'd like to thank the teams from SMU, specifically marketing, for the lovely banners and other support and the pens and lanyards that we have received. Also security for the parking arrangements, and our medical illustration and audiovisual services. Fundu and Kenny at the back, we really value you, and also for the photography that has been done today. Any students that have been with us, we also appreciate your attendance. So I think we just call on all our potential partners that we have here today to please register on our database, our supplier database. You have been informed where to find all these documents, so that we can ensure that all our service providers are compliant with all the regulatory processes, including SARS, the policies, the guidelines, and any other aspects relating to their registration. So I think that as an end user of some of the services from the specific directorates that have been here, we really value all the work that the directorates are also doing at the institution in building new building facilities, and to ensure that our academic project is enhanced, and that our staff and students and all our visitors, when they come and visit us here at the institution, that we have safe and compliant facilities, infrastructure that are functional, and that we can then work together and to support our young professionals as they embark on the career processes. So thank you so much for your attendance. I hope I have not left anyone out, but we really appreciate each and every contribution that you have made to this event, and to the success, and all the questions that you have asked. It's, as our program director has mentioned, it's a process of working together, building on partnerships to establish our networks, and have a good supplier database that we know is compliant. So thank you so much for your time, and we value your attendance. Thank you.